What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Friday, February 10th. Dan Kasper Show's on the air. Appreciate you checking us out. However, wherever you may be checking us out, if you're up and at it, thanks for making us a part of your start before we head off for the weekend here. Super Bowl coming up now, just in a couple days, wrapping up Super Bowl week here. Had the honor show last night, handing out awards. Hall of Fame class, Joe Thomas going to the Hall, Patrick Mahomes winning MVP, all that good stuff. But, man, what do we got on the good old game plan here this morning? Bucks making a move before the deadline. They finally get Jay Crowder. And kind of a three-team deal here, but they sent some picks to the Nets and some second-round picks to the Nets. Jordan Nora, George Hill, Serge Ibaka, all gone as well, sending them to the Pacers to clear some cap space and all that stuff, and clearing some roster spots potentially to hit up the buyout market. Now that the trade deadline is over, you can see maybe the Bucks being active and some veterans who, their current teams may buy them out. Some veterans who were traded, maybe to non-contenders, will work out a buyout with their teams. Then they become free agents, and then Bucks may be hitting up that market a little bit there. But that was the move yesterday by the Milwaukee Bucks, finally getting Jay Crowder, something that has been rumored ever since even before the season began back in October. So now it's February, and the former Marquette alum will be joining the Bucks. Ted hasn't played all this year, so you got to imagine he's probably pretty fresh. Maybe he doesn't have his legs completely underneath him, but I'm assuming he was working out and staying in shape and all that good stuff. But another defender coming in for the Bucks here. Speaking of the Bucks, they picked up another win tonight, their ninth win in a row. This time against the Lakers. No LeBron last night for the Lakers. But nonetheless, Bucks picking up another W, 115-106. Giannis doing his thing again, 38 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. You had Chris Middleton coming off the bench again, playing 25 minutes, though, contributing 22 points, was 10 of 18 overall from field, just 1 of 6 from 3. Drew Holiday, 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. So the Bucks improving to 38 and 17 overall on the season. They got the Clippers coming up 2 nights before 3 days off for the Bucks, and they'll face the Boston Celtics on Valentine's Day on Tuesday there. My kid wants to go to that game on a Tuesday night. But we'll talk some hoops here a little bit. But are you good with just the one move, Bucks fans? Just the one move that the Bucks made by bringing in Crowder? Are you okay with that, or do you wish they maybe would have done more? Maybe for me, I believe that they're going to add a player, maybe 2 players in the buyout market. That's where I feel like they're going to kind of fill out their roster there. So, again, they didn't really have a whole lot that they could do in terms of, trade capital and money and that sort of thing. So I'm good with it. I'm glad they got a defensive player to come in. Kind of thinking about maybe the playoffs, maybe a potential NBA Finals matchup there. You want a perimeter defender. You want a guy who's been there, got some playoff experience too, and that's what Jay Crowder is. He fits that bill. But I don't think that they're necessarily done yet. So I think they will go out and grab a player or 2 in the buyout market. But what do you think, Bucks fans? Are you good with just the one move by bringing in Crowder? Yay or nay? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know. Also on the docket here this morning, with it being the Super Bowl, it is your final time to get your picks in. If you want to text them on to us, and then you can get on the big board here in the studio, you can do so by hitting us up, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line with a quick text. Otherwise, I put it up on Twitter now this morning. So far, it is 50-50 in terms of votes on Twitter. On the big board, the Eagles holding the advantage for the most picks here. So we'll talk some Super Bowl coming up here. Chiefs versus the Eagles. Hit that up. Yet last night we had the NFL Honors show. As I mentioned, Joe Thomas, former Badger, getting in the Hall of Fame. Got Patrick Mahomes winning his second MVP. Mark Murphy was there as well. Diana Rossini was able to catch up with him for a quick minute. She's from ESPN, but what Mark Murphy had to say there about Aaron Rodgers hasn't been a deadline. The sooner the decision is made, the better. He did say Goody has been in contact with Aaron. Aaron has expressed that he doesn't want to drag it on. And Murphy says that he's hoping by the start of March, around free agency, that a decision has been made, which I think that's maybe like a soft deadline. I think both sides kind of know that, similar a little bit to last year and such. Aaron Jones was on the Jim Rome show yesterday during Super Bowl activities and such, and he thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to return to Green Bay. A couple quotes from him. For some reason, no, I feel like he'll be back. I don't know. He had fun this year. As the season started getting later, we started clicking and gelling. You could tell we were taking that step, and I think he sees that. I think we have all the pieces that we need, and he sees that as well. He also did say if Jordan Love is the man, that Jordan Love is ready to take that next step. Jordan Love is definitely ready. I feel like from the time he's come in until now, he's just continued to work. You can see the confidence starting to come out even more and more. He got some time to play in games this past season, and you can tell he made that jump. He's confident out there, and he's capable, and he can do it at a high level. I feel like he'll definitely be that guy when A-Rod's gone. So, you got Aaron Jones there, who in one breath thinks Rodgers will be back, but also expressing a lot of confidence in one Jordan Love to be that guy. We shall see, right? So we'll throw a little football talk in there with the Super Bowl coming up here. Kind of maybe preview this game and that sort of thing. And if you haven't made a pick yet, or if you have, but you haven't said why, what do you think will be the biggest key, or maybe the biggest deciding factor for the Super Bowl winner on Sunday? And let's kind of have a little fun question. What do you think or what have been like what's your favorite Super Bowl? Like take away so Packers fans, take away Super Bowl 31, Super Bowl 45. Because those are easy, right? Take those away. What has been the best Super Bowl that you have watched? You personally, the ones that you can remember. It can't be something that you weren't around for or something that you can't remember. One that you have watched on the tube. Take away Packers Super Bowls. What has been the best Super Bowl that you have watched? Think about that one for a little bit, then maybe, hit me up and with the text and all that good stuff. We got Brandon Berg popping in shortly after 7 this morning, all the way to the finish line. We'll catch up on some of the regional stuff there too. We'll get his picks and do a little cream of the crop and all that fun stuff. We've got Dr. Crow for some Inside the Training Room coming up just past 7, right before Brandon pops in. So we'll catch up with Dr. Crow there for our Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Inside the Training Room. We got, we mentioned picks and predictions and all that fun stuff, right? Badgers taking on Nebraska this weekend, and in hoops, can they get another win in a row? 2 wins in a row here. That game's going to be tomorrow afternoon game at 3:00. Maybe kind of move up a little bit more in the standings and such. We'll see there, but got some college hoops action coming at you this weekend too. So, but let's get things rolling here this morning. Opening drive. Let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. We haven't talked about the matchup. Chiefs, Eagles. I think, at least on paper, this should be a fun game to watch. Should be a good one. Highly entertaining. What do you personally think will be the biggest deciding factor in this game? And if you haven't made your pick yet, make your pick and tell me why you are making that pick. Like, why do you think the Chiefs or the Eagles are going to win it? Maybe you're thinking Eagles up front, the lines, offensive and defensive lines. Maybe if it's the Chiefs, you're like, it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But let's talk a little bit about this game, and then we'll talk some Bucks too. Remember, I want your assessment on what the Bucks did by the trade deadline. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You're good. You're disappointed that maybe they didn't do more. What do you got for me? All right. So you can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, video stream, texting line, all that good stuff. We'll get things started off here this morning. First break, and then it's the opening drive. Super Bowl weekend is finally here. All the hoopla and fanfare in the books. Now we're just a couple of days away from kickoff. Let's talk about the game. maybe with all this snow melting right now, you've been doing a little bit more shoveling, like at the end of the driveway, trying to clean up some of that ice and that packed down deep snow there. Well, you feeling a little sore from all that shoveling? Maybe got some aches and pains from lifting all that wet, heavy stuff. Well, we can't stop, snow from coming and then, melting and picking it all up and that sort of thing. But it is possible to help alleviate that pain with the help from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Fantastic team from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine can help reduce your pain and enjoy the ease of your daily activities. You can request an appointment today by just simply visiting cvosm.com. Again, cvosm.com. And hey, maybe you'll get an appointment with Dr. Crow, who you will hear in less than an hour from now for our Inside the Training Room segment. All right. Poll question going a little bit nuts here on the good old Twitter. Right now, Chiefs are running away with the votes on Twitter. 70% of you going with the Chiefs in this game. It is the opposite of what our big board has in studio. It's not like 70-30 with our picks on the studio board here, but at least on the Twitter sphere, it is a clear advantage for the Chiefs, at least those who have voted on the Twitter poll here. So, been 2 weeks. Now we can actually kind of talk a little bit about this game here, the matchup between the Chiefs and the Eagles. I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of the similar stuff out there in terms of the points, numbers, and stats, and all that. Throw that out the window. Don't matter. Whatever was done in the regular season, whatever was done in the postseason, don't matter anymore. If you're looking at some of the lines, the line has stayed at 1.5 for the Eagles right now. If you look at matchup predictor, though, on the mothership, the matchup predictor, according to ESPN Analytics, favors the Chiefs 51.8%. So just barely, just a skosh over there. I threw out the question, what do you think is the biggest, or what do you think will decide this game? What will be the biggest deciding factor in this game? And for me, I almost feel like it's like turnover battle, and you could say that for almost every game when you talk about keys to victory and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of them will say, win the turnover battle here. But when I look at it with the Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes, and then you got Jalen Hurts, who had an MVP type of year as well. You don't necessarily want to give them extra drives and possessions of the football, especially maybe if it's deep in their own territory and that sort of thing. Well, I kind of feel like it's a turnover battle. Like if Kansas City is going to turn over the ball, or the Eagles are going to turn over the ball 2-3 times, you're playing with fire with both of these offenses. I think I feel like, and I think a lot too is going to be dependent on the health and probably more specific to the Chiefs. How's Travis Kelce's back? Patrick Mahomes, according to Andy Reid, has pretty much done everything in practice. And he's a talented dude, and he can do a lot of things, even if he is a little bit sore there with the ankle and such. I would never want to doubt Patrick Mahomes. But I think those are probably the 2 biggest ones, and you could throw in, like, time of possession and that sort of thing too, and yeah, that would definitely be I think, a factor in it too. But, I think the biggest thing, if we're talking about, like, key matchups, I'm looking at I think it's the trenches for both sides here. I think it's can Kansas City if you remember when they played Tampa Bay in that Super Bowl a couple years ago, they were banged up on that offensive line. Both their tackles were out, and Tampa Bay took some big time advantage against that. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was under duress that whole time. Tampa Bay won that Super Bowl because of their defense. They took advantage of a banged up offensive line from the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs, after that, they've invested in their offensive line. They've spent some money in there. Then, saw this yesterday, and it's again kind of been brought up here or there, but their center, Creed Humphrey, you can make the case, has been one of the best centers in the entire NFL. And sorry, Packers fans, he was drafted 62. You know who was drafted 61? It was Josh Myers, the current center for the Packers. So, yeah, that one might hurt a little bit there too. But, Kansas City the last couple of years, you bring in Orlando Brown, you draft Creed Humphrey, you know, they've fortified their offensive line here a little bit, but you look at that defensive line for the Eagles, and they're a deep group. They're a talented group. Can the Chiefs provide enough protection for Jordan or, excuse me, for Patrick Mahomes to get the ball up maybe to a Kelsey, to take a deep shot to MVS, find Juju Smith-Schuster? Those receivers, some of them got banged up just a couple of weeks ago in that AFC Championship game against the Eagles. Can the Eagles, or excuse me, can the Chiefs against the Bengals? Uh, can the Chiefs establish a running game? Can they run the football on Philadelphia's front? I think they're going to try to have to. They're going to have some success at doing that. We kind of look at. Let me bring up some of the numbers here. Defensive leaders in the regular season. Philadelphia was number 1 in yards allowed per game, 195.5. Number 1 in the league in or this is in the postseason. If we want to do the regular season, Philadelphia was number 2 and not far off from the San Francisco 49ers. Number 2 in terms of yards allowed. And they're going up against the number 1 offense in terms of total yards per game. Philadelphia was number 1 in sacks, 70. Number 2, Kansas City. But there is quite the gap between Philadelphia and Kansas City in terms of sacks from the regular season. Philly had 70. Kansas City had 55. Number 1 passing team in the league on offense, Kansas City. Turnover differentials, number 3, Philadelphia. So if we kind of look at rushing yards allowed per game, that may be where Kansas City can have some success. Philadelphia was about middle of the pack in the regular season in terms of rushing defense. They gave up 121, a little over 121 yards on ground. The question is, can Kansas City take advantage of that? We know about their passing offense, but when you look at the rushing offense, a little over halfway through, or a little over halfway through the pack. They averaged about 115, almost 116 on the ground. So I think if Kansas City wants to win this game, yeah, they love to throw the ball. They love to get it through the air, but they're going to have some success at running against that defensive front. Whether it's, Isaiah or can, I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire was activated a couple weeks ago, last week. How much can he actually do if he's going to be playing this game? I think he's going to play in the game, but how much of a contributor can he be on the ground here? And I mean, that also would factor into time of possession. If Kansas City can have some success running the football, holding on to that ball, having those 6-7 minute drives, and then coming away with touchdowns. If it gets into a shootout, I feel like it kind of favors Kansas City a little bit. If it gets into a grinded out, low scoring type of game, then I feel like that favors Philly. And, I'm curious to see, does Philly have something up their sleeves? Something maybe a little bit different in terms of Jalen Hurts. You want to talk about health? Jalen Hurts. We keep hearing that Jalen Hurts isn't 100%. We heard that throughout the whole postseason. He's not 100%. And everybody's been talking about the health of Kansas City. What's the exact health status of Jalen Hurts? And you would think, okay, a couple weeks here, got to be better than what he was in the postseason, right? And really, when you look at the postseason, it didn't really, not to say he's not hurting or he's not banged up a little bit, but you probably wouldn't have known that he's hurting a little bit here or there after watching the postseason that much. But will Philly do something different? Will they have something up their sleeve in terms of the offense? Will they kind of surprise Kansas City here a little bit? I was reading some stuff last week. Jalen Hurts. Could they unleash him like a Taysom Hill sort of role that Sean Payton did with the Saints and such? I mean, there's so many different factors in this game that could decide the outcome. Can Kansas City's defense with Chris Jones, who has taken such a huge step this year? We heard Aaron Rodgers even talk about Philly's offensive line. Chris Jones has been dominant all season long up on that defensive line. Can he put some pressure? Can he get after Jalen Hurts? And if they can get after Jalen Hurts, him or Clark, can they contain him so he can't beat you with his legs? Can they contain him so he can't reach the edges? Chris Jones, if he's going to have success, coming up the middle, although I will give Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defensive staff a little bit of a credit here too, because they've been creative with Chris Jones, moving him around the defensive line there. Maybe even we've even seen him lined up at the end and going after, the quarterback, kind of playing that defensive end role on third downs. Putting him in a position to succeed or to help the Chiefs defense succeed. There's so many layers to this that I think this is what has the makings of what potentially could be a really good Super Bowl. You could pick a bunch of different factors in this thing. And I just hope it lives up to the potential here. Who's going to play the better quarterback? Who's going to turn the ball over the least amount of time? Which defensive line is going to have more success going after that quarterback? Which defense is going to be able to turn the ball over or create turnovers more? Which defense is going to be able to put some more hits on the quarterback? Is it the defense that racked up the most sacks in the regular season this year? Or is it going to be Chris Jones, who was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate? Clark has had himself a nice playoff run here, too, for the Chiefs getting after the quarterback. Can those rookies on the Chiefs defense step up again in a big-time game? Coaching-wise, Andy Reid's been there before. Steve Spagnuolo has been there before. You've got a younger coaching staff with the Eagles in a big game moment. Coaching is going to be a factor in this one too. And, Nick Sirianni, you got to give him and this entire staff a whole lot of credit for what they've been able to do the last 2 years. Remember when he came in last year, and he's even admitted it too, is, kind of looking at his opening day presser and like, why did the Eagles hire this guy? What did they see in him? Like, saying some weird stuff, and what exactly is going on here? Players are buying into it, though. 100% buying into it, and that's the only thing that matters. If the players buy into it, They believe what their coaches are saying. They believe what their coaches are preaching. It's the only thing that matters. Doesn't care about what we think about it from the outside. But you got to give that Eagles coaching staff, offensively, defensively, Nick Sirianni, all the above, a whole lot of credit for being in the position that they're in right now. They've done a fantastic job. So I can see this going. I'm still I was leading Chiefs into this game, and my big reason is because of it's Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I think the Eagles have the better defense in this game, and I know more times than not, defenses have always kind of prevailed in these type of games in the Super Bowl and such. But I also look at coaching experience in this too. When I look at some of these younger coaches that have gone to the Super Bowl and for their first time, like Kyle Shanahan going up against Andy Reid. Towards the end of the game, Chiefs made that comeback, got the victory. Sean McVay and the Rams going up against the Patriots. Sean McVay's first time there, gets the victory. Or Bill Belichick and the Patriots get the victory. Last year, Zach Taylor, Sean McVay in his second time in the Super Bowl. McVay gets the victory over Zach Taylor on the Cincinnati Bengals. And you could say, well, it was plays on the field and that sort of thing, but I don't know. And then, we've got examples from all over the place. I mean, for crying out loud, Packers and Mike McCarthy going up against Mike Tomlin in Super Bowl 45. They got the victory, and Mike Tomlin's been there a few times. So I don't know. I keep going back to it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and I'm a big, big, big Andy Reid fan. Steve Spagnuolo still makes me nervous at times, but it's just really hard it's really hard to pick against Patty Mahomes and Andy Reid in this one. I don't know. I originally picked the Chiefs, though. I might change it. I might flip-flop back and forth. We'll see. We'll make the official picks in the 8 o'clock hour, but gosh, I hope this game just lives up to the excitement, to the potential that it has here. I really do. I hope this is a classic. I hope this is a game that, in a few years, we're talking about it being one of the most entertaining, one of the best Super Bowls that we have watched, that we have witnessed on TV. I really hope so. I think it has that ability to do it. Some of my most memorable Super Bowls that I remember watching, I always go back because I think this was probably, I'm taking away the Packer ones, obviously. But the one that I always go back to is because it was one of the first ones that I remember being like a really close game and just inches away. Titans and Rams, Kurt Warner, that Super Bowl, Steve McNair. I always go back to that one as one of my favorites, if not the favorite. And I think it was the outside of a Packers one, it was, the first one that I can vividly remember watching that was really close and, getting tackled at like the 1 yard line. I go to that one. I think Seattle and New England, the Malcolm Butler interception, that to me is a top five one of all time, the finish there. You could go to a couple other Patriots walk-off, field goals if you want to go with the Giants and over the the Giants over the Patriots too. There's a good list. And what Brandon and I are going to do later on today and probably put it up in a podcast, our top 5 favorite Super Bowls, not picking our favorite teams in there. Brandon, of course, obviously is Minnesota hasn't won one, but I'm purposely not going to put Green Bay in there just to make it a little bit more even in that sort of thing. Heck, Pittsburgh, Arizona, that was an entertaining one. I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to be a good game, and then lo and behold, it ended up being a classic. You can throw that one in the conversation. I mean, there's been some good ones as of late. Not Seattle and Denver. That one was just a blowout and a poo-poo one. If you want to throw away Atlanta and New England in there, you can. I it was a great comeback, but when I think of my favorite Super Bowls, I think of ones that from start to finish, they were pretty solid throughout. And, when I think of Atlanta and New England, that was just a great comeback and a epic collapse in the final quarter and a half. But there's been some good ones. Even last year's Super Bowl was good too. I just hope this one fits the bill. I think it will. There's so many different layers to this thing, so many different ways that these teams I think can come away with a victory. I think, Chiefs wise, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, you've got Jones and Clark playing extremely well on defense. Travis Kelce, nobody can stop the man. Eagles wise, Jalen Hurts has been a dual threat guy, an MVP type player this year. The defensive front, the offensive line, they've got some great weapons on the outside. I think both these teams can win in a couple different ways, which makes it really exciting. Just hope it lives up to it, man. All right, you can continue to vote right now on Twitter. Still, it's getting a little bit closer. It's about 60-40 now, it looks like. And what did open up when we opened up this segment, Chiefs 70% was getting the votes, but now it's 60-40 for the Chiefs. So you can find me on Twitter at DANKASPER and vote on there. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Last night, NFL Honors. We handed out awards and all that fun stuff. But I want to hit up the Hall of Fame selections here and then tell you who is now eligible for next year's Hall of Fame. And before Packers fans get too excited, there is one fan favorite from Green Bay that is now eligible to be in the Hall of Fame. But let's temper the expectations that this individual is going to get in. Tell you who that is coming up in just a few minutes. Price, quality, customer service. That's the big three I look for when I'm looking to get a big project done. And sometimes it can be hard to find all those three in one place. But when it comes to replacing your flooring, one place hits all three of my marks. That's Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. They hit the pricing mark because they will match or beat the competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. Quality, pretty easy because they have the best and the top of the line flooring options you could ask for. They carry the best brands in carpet, tile, luxury vinyl, and a whole lot more. And customer service, well, I could talk to you all for a long time about their exceptional customer service. It's easily one of the best, most courteous, helpful, and friendly staff that you can work with. They're with you through every step of the process, from finding the floor that fits your budget and what looks best and works best in your home or office. Taking on big projects can be a little nervous to think about, but when it comes to replacing your flooring, that nervousness goes away with the help from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Just visit them today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire and check it out for yourself. All right, so last night we got the new Hall of Fame class. Rondé Barber, remember him from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Darrell Rivas Island. Joe Thomas, former Cleveland Browns left tackle. Zach Thomas, finally getting in. Dolphins linebacker. DeMarcus Ware, he's going in. Don Coryell, coach contributor category. Chuck Howley, senior category. Joe Klecko and Ken Riley, also senior category members, getting into the Hall of Fame last night. But obviously, Badgers, when you look at Joe Thomas, that's the big one here for us in the good old state of Wisconsin. Getting in there, started 167 straight games for Cleveland at left tackle, making 10 Pro Bowls, 6 first-team All-Pro honors. He logged 10,363 consecutive offensive snaps for Cleveland. The only downfall is he never played a single snap in the postseason. Man. Played with 22 different quarterbacks, including 20 starters in his 11-year career. Golly. That's one. We talk about guys and players who, the best ones to not win it all. Dan Marino, Barry Sanders. You could throw Calvin Johnson in there if you want. Sometimes we forget about offensive linemen. Joe Thomas should be on that list of some of the best to have never gotten a ring. The dude never even got to play in the postseason, for crying out loud. Didn't even get that. So, for whenever we ask that question, best to not win it all, you got to throw Joe Thomas into that equation again. Or we just got to start putting Joe Thomas into that equation. Just have to. Offensive linemen, especially a guy of that caliber, left tackle for as long as he played, Iron Man, and to never even taste the postseason. Never to even taste it. He's on there. He's on that list. But at least he's getting a gold jacket now. So now that that Hall of Fame class is officially in, who's up for next year? Well, you got Julius Peppers. Now, I don't know if Green Bay would necessarily put him in the, count him as a member. Julius Peppers is going to get in, and I think Julius Peppers is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But since he only played a couple of years, I don't know if that would qualify as a player to put up in the Ring of Honor. I don't think so. In fact, I'd probably be a little bit shocked if that were the case. Antonio Gates, the tight end, could he be a first ballot? Could he get in? Dude put up a lot of numbers. You got Eric Berry, the safety for the Chiefs, Brandon Marshall, Haloti Ngata, remember the big old nose tackle defensive lineman, Jamal Charles, running back for the Chiefs, Sebastian Janikowski, the kicker for the Raiders, Andrew Luck, I don't think Andrew Luck's going to get in. Maybe. I'll really be curious to see how the voters go with Andrew Luck. He ain't going to be a first ballot, but I'll be really curious to see. Like, I would just love to sit in the room when they vote on these guys. Just, sitting off to the side and hearing the conversation and hearing the debate. I would absolutely love to hear the case if it gets to that point for Andrew Luck. And I'm not saying either way, like, oh, I would love to hear it because he doesn't deserve. I would just like to hear the case because this was a guy. Remember, he was a for sure thing coming in the draft. I mean, the Colts moved on from Peyton Manning for this guy, and then injuries. It is racked up, and he couldn't do it anymore. But Packers fans too. Jordy Nelson is eligible. It ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I would be shocked if Jordy Nelson were to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's not gonna happen. Finished his career with 8,587 receiving yards, 72 touchdown catches. Um, I kind of want to compare it for career wise. That's where I like Pro Football Reference. They compare, if you kind of scroll down a little bit, careers with other players. So like Jordy Nelson, his career numbers: Ed McCaffrey, Joe Horn, Demaryius Thomas. Remember Herman Moore for the Lions? That's kind of his career where he's getting compared to right now, career numbers wise compared to those. Interestingly, you know what I mean. Enough. They also have Devontae Adams on there. Now you look at it, Devontae Adams, his career, he's got 9,637 receiving yards and 87 touchdowns already. I think Devontae Adams is going to be interesting. He's going to get over 10,000 receiving yards. That's going to happen unless something just awful happens with injuries. I think he's got a very, very good shot at even getting 100 receiving touchdowns in his career, which, I mean, that kind of puts you in some interesting company. Remember, my boy Don Hudson had the record for the longest time, and Steve Largent broke it. Steve Largent's got 100, but Devontae Adams right now, he's 15th in NFL history in receiving touchdowns. He's at 87. He just needs 13 more to hit that 100 mark and tie Tim Brown, who's in the Hall of Fame. Steve Largent, who's in the Hall of Fame. There's a realistic shot because I think Devontae is going to play for at least a couple more years, and I think he's got a couple years. Now, I should mention the caveat to this whole thing is who's going to be the Raiders quarterback. If it's Aaron Rodgers, then just mark it down. Dude's going to get 100 touchdown passes probably next year, or 13 and get to 100 overall. But if he hits that 100-yard or 100 touchdown receiving mark, he's going to be top 10 all time. All time. And I think when you put him in that category, everybody who's had at least 100 touchdown catches is in the Hall of Fame except one, but he might be this year. Or I should say except two, because one's a lock. Larry Fitzgerald's getting in. He's got 121. The other one is Antonio Gates at 116. I think Antonio Gates is going to get in the Hall of Fame. Don't know if it'll be first ballot. He'll get in, though. But we talk about who's the next Packer to get in that Hall of Fame. Aaron Rodgers is a lock. I don't know if Sterling Sharpe, I think he should. I don't know if he'll get like the push that we've seen from some of the older guys with shorter careers. Devontae Adams, he might be the next one after all that too. Never know. All right, second hour kicking off here on this Friday before the Super Bowl. Don't forget to get your picks in if you want to get on the big board here in the studio. Otherwise, you can vote on our Twitter poll right now. Currently, the Eagles or excuse me, the Chiefs are leading the Twitter poll right now. 60, just went down 60%, 60% for the Chiefs. But in our studio big board here, the Eagles are holding the advantage. So it's pretty much like 50-50 if we kind of added it all up at this point. We're going to ask Dr. Crow for his pick at the end of this, but let's kick off our Inside the Training Room segment with Dr. Crow. Good morning, bud. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Hey, I got to ask you. So I was watching, I've been watching like these Kobe Bryant clips. I know I'm kind of throwing it back here a little bit. But he was. I think it was a clip with the trainer for the Lakers. So it was the day or the night he tore his Achilles, and the trainer said a couple things. One, Kobe tried pushing the Achilles back down, like he tried putting it back in. He said, "I can't imagine how painful that would have been." But that's like the Kobe mindset, I have to imagine. And then he said Kobe tried running on his heel so he could continue to play in that game. And then, he said Kobe wanted surgery the next day, and the trainer said that's not possible. We can't do it the next day. So I guess my question to you is, why can't sometimes you do surgery the next day on torn ligaments or torn muscles or anything like that?
There's a number of different reasons that come into play depending on them. I mean, in truth, an Achilles you potentially could. A lot of times it has to do with soft tissue swelling. So let's say a really significant knee injury. There's going to be a lot of swelling, and so the joint will often have stiffness and fluid in it. And so you want to make sure you have improvements in those prior to undergoing a reconstructive surgery. In Achilles, you could do pretty quickly. Now, of course, there's the logistics of it, right? So getting evaluated by the physician, getting an MRI to confirm what the diagnosis is, set up a treatment plan, have a time and date scheduled in the OR. Now, if you're a guy like Kobe Bryant, you probably can get people to make some big favors for you. But for the average person, turnaround like that just really isn't that doable. There are exceptions. Obviously, we take care of people with broken bones. Those get done emergently, kind of no matter what. But for a lot of things, it's done on a more semi-elective basis. And so it'd be really, frankly, more the logistics for an Achilles. Now, again, there are some injuries where we say, look, you need to do a little bit of quote unquote prehab prior to the surgery because we need to get better motion, get the swelling down, get some muscles to wake back up. Certain things that we look for when you want to get before the reconstruction takes place, kind of get back into a better place.
I just, when he's talking about how Kobe was like trying to push it back down, I'm just like, I cringe every time I hear that. Like, that's got to be painful, isn't it?
Yeah, Achilles can have some discomfort. Ironically, they're not as painful as you might think.
Really?
In fact, a lot of people will describe, a lot of people, it's actually almost like out of a textbook, you get the same answer. People will think that someone either kicked him in the back of the leg or threw a ball and hit him in the back of the leg. So it doesn't hurt that bad, but it's just a sudden pop. And not to say there's not some discomfort, there is. Now the second time when they try to fire the muscle again and the muscle is not attached because the tendon's torn, that tends to be more painful because it's just not anchored. The muscle will spasm a lot. But pushing it down, that's not going to work, right? Because the tendon's not going to reattach itself. But it is. I mean, it is. I think that certainly the most well-known one is Durant because there was such a great slow-mo video of it.
Yeah.
And it really just shows you the amount of energy that's going through that muscle, pushing off, and then when the tendon goes, it's just that recoil of that muscle. It's just impressive video. People who are squeamish don't watch it, but otherwise, it's a cool video to see.
Yeah, it is. Hey, I want to talk about Brock Purdy because he the other day confirmed the plan is for him to have an internal brace repair surgery to repair injured ulnar collateral ligament in his right elbow. But he also said that plan could change during the operation. He said that Dr. Keith Meister could opt for a hybrid surgery that would involve both a reconstruction as well as the internal brace. Can you kind of explain that maybe a little bit for us?
Yeah, so that's the internal brace is what we were talking about last time we were discussing his injury. So that's exactly what I was thinking might happen. So an internal brace is essentially this. You take an anchor and put it on each side of the joint where the UCL or the Tommy John ligament normally inserts, and you basically put this thick piece of tape with suture tape, so it's really strong, and you basically, as the name has an internal brace, so it holds and supports the wall heals on its own. So really, you're just letting the native UCL heal fibers that are still attached. So he's probably had at least one, if not more than one MRI. He certainly is going to get intraoperative examination. So what's going to happen is, sounds like they're going to open up the inner elbow, and then once they come down the ligament, you can see it. So what they'll probably do is what's called a dynamic exam under anesthesia. So they'll literally stress it, look at the ligament. If it seems to be holding okay and has some fibers intact, they'll just do that internal brace, again, which is going to be an anchor with that suture tape between them, and just support it and let the UCL heal. And if they get in there and they assess it once up and say, look, what's there is just not going to heal well enough, an internal brace will eventually fail. If that's all that's there, it'll fail. So those braces only work if there's good ligament that's going to heal back in place. And so that'll be the intraoperative decision that surgeon will make.
Obviously, then I would imagine if it has to be that hybrid surgery that he called it, a longer recovery time frame for him.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, because then it's a full-time John. So he would end up being, he'll probably miss. There's a chance he'd miss the upcoming season with that if he undergoes the full thing. Because again, throwing a football puts tremendous stress across the UCL. So he would certainly be at risk. But the internal brace, I think they're quoting him at like 6 months recovery roughly. If he undergoes reconstruction, usually don't let athletes throwing the rough again. So it would definitely be a much longer recovery process with reconstruction.
Man, talk about a whirlwind, and it just happened in a few minutes. You're talking about Brock Purdy, a guy who might be the starter for the 49ers next year, and then maybe there's a chance he can't even be the starter because he can't play. Just one play could change the whole career that way.
That really is athletics in a nutshell. Fortune's turning on a dime, good and bad. And unfortunately, injuries are part of it. But the good news is that these surgeries have very good success rates. So despite this being a downtime or recovery process, his long-term outcome still should be good. So there are some injuries that we still can't deal with very well. There's some injuries that are truly career-threatening. But the good news is what you keep threatening for a lot of people are able to get back, and the advancements in orthopedic surgery are really profound.
Patrick Mahomes, it sounds like he's been doing everything in practice. Let's say, 3 weeks removed from his high ankle sprain. He did play 1 week with it. Would you say that he's close to 100%, or is that still unlikely with that high ankle sprain?
It depends on the severity, but generally speaking, high ankle sprain is still going to be bothering him at this point. But I can assure you he's getting medications and treatments that are helping to mitigate that. Certainly the way he played it, he looks good. There were times where he was playing. It wasn't like the game that he injured. I don't think he's 100%, but I bet he's getting a lot closer. So I don't think it'll be a huge factor. But you never know. The one thing is bad tackle, like we just talked about. Fortune turn on a dime.
Yeah.
He takes one bad tackle and gets that ankle rolled up, or makes a hard cut and just puts stress. It could flare up, and it could really. High ankle sprains are notorious for being really, really nasty to deal with. So if that happens, it could certainly be quite literally a game changer.
With the other quarterback in this game, Jalen Hurts, he missed a couple weeks at the end of the regular season with what they were calling a sprained throwing shoulder. But we keep hearing, and even from Jalen himself, that he's not 100%. Do you think there's a little bit more maybe going on with that shoulder if he's still saying, or the Eagles are still saying, that he's really not 100%? And I know some people kind of said, well, it's a little bit noticeable with his accuracy, or maybe throwing down the field a little bit more. Do you think there's maybe something maybe a little bit more than just a sprained shoulder for Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, they've kept it pretty close to the vest on that one. They haven't really exactly the injury. So I think it's certainly possible that there's something that's lingering. And again, we talk about little bumps and nicks that these guys get, sometimes more serious than that. And in addition, what they're trying to do with their bodies is the extreme of what humans can accomplish. He's trying to chuck a football with 300-pound men trying to tackle him and running away from him. And it's just really, they push their bodies to the absolute limit. So even minor aches and pains or weaknesses are really amplified by those scenarios. So do I think that he's 100%? It doesn't look like it, and I think that if he's making those comments, it certainly sounds like he's not. But in the same breath, he does look like he's quote serviceable. So I don't think it'll be a huge setback for him, but it certainly does look like it's playing a little bit of a role.
So I know this one's a little bit old, but going to the baseball world here, the Carlos Correa situation. I'm sure you kind of heard about it the last couple of months here. Teams like he was supposed to sign with the Giants with a huge deal. concerned with his medicals. He was going to go to the Mets. Got a little concerned there. Now he's back with the Twins, but there's an ankle issue that keeps popping up here, according to an issue that he suffered all the way back in 2014. I was reading. Would they kind of pop in your mind, maybe like well, that would be a concern for these maybe teams or athletics training staff that would give them some concern about an ankle injury that might have happened a few years ago?
It has to be one of two things. Basically, right? Meaning either what they fixed, they just did a great job and the bone didn't heal really well, or he's developing some early arthritic changes, like some bone spurs on the ankle that suggests that he's developing post-traumatic arthritis, because he has missed 0 games because of this ankle injury, which is what's really amazing. I mean, all these things are coming up, and he's missed 0 games other than the injury, right? So when he broke it, he missed that. But when he came back, he has not missed a single game related to this ankle. And so I'm a Twins fan, so I've certainly been following it closely. And he fell back into our lap, which I'm happy about. But it certainly is in the back of your mind. What exactly do those X-rays look like? And if I had to guess, my assumption is because he hasn't missed the game, it wouldn't like someone botch the surgery, because ankle fractures can be challenging. But for both orthopedic surgeons, we can put them back together in a way that looks pretty good. But when you break any joint, there is the chance you develop arthritis in that joint, and it can happen at a relatively young age. And so he may be developing some signs of that. That would be my assumption. And even though it's not limiting him now, you don't know what next year, 3 years, 5 years, and obviously those contracts he was signing. I can't remember what the Giants had him at, but it was 5 or 7 years. I don't know what it was. Even longer than that. And then you start looking at, all right, we're in the future here, and we need to worry about that. And so we see that, and we talk about in discussions, but I mean, sometimes these athletes come through for physicals, whether it's through draft or with trades, and have some ugly X-ray. And you look at it, and the athlete says, "No, I'm fine." But you look at it and say, "Yeah, you may be, but I don't know what the durability of this joint is." And so there's clearly something that's triggering both those teams to say, "All right, we just can't pull the trigger on it."
Yeah, it was just interesting. I wanted to. I kept forgetting to ask you about that, because it was so kind of like you figured, okay, Mets are going to, because they want to spend some money, but they offered him a 12-year deal, and they even backed out of that a little bit there too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, I've got a couple combine questions for you, but I'm going to say that for next week after we get to the Super Bowl and some offseason stuff here. So I got to ask you, what? Let's put you on the spot here, big guy. Eagles, Chiefs. Who are you running with?
Well, I was 0-2 in the championship game, so I mean, I do not like the Eagles a lot. So I mean, I have a natural bias against them, so I'm pulling for the Chiefs. So I think really it's going to boil down to what I think to a certain degree, some of those injuries. If Mahomes is playing well, I have a hard time going against him. I mean, playmaker, but the Eagles defense is good, so I'm going to go Chiefs, but I do think it's going to be a close game.
All right, I'm going to put you on the big board here. I it's a good game. I think it's going to be. It sure looks like it. I just hope it lives up to that.
Should be, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. How about your favorite Rihanna song? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you don't have to answer that one. Well, enjoy the games this weekend, Austin. Appreciate the time as always, buddy, and we'll catch up again soon, okay?
I was going to take it in.
You got it. There you go. There's Dr. Crow inside the training room, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Tell you what, we'll take a quick break, and we'll ask Brandon his favorite Rihanna song. Umbrella is my guess. Then we'll talk some Bucks after that. How do you take a coffee? Do you like it black or maybe a little cream and sugar added to it? Are you a hot or iced coffee person? Well, you know what? It doesn't matter because it's your coffee. Take it how you like it. Maybe you mix it up every once in a while to keep things unique and fresh. That's why at Cabin Coffee in Altoona, they have a wide selection of options for you to choose from, whether you are in the mood for a blended frappe, an iced white coffee, or an Americano. Cabin Coffee has the coffee that you are in the mood for. So head on over to River Prairie in Altoona and grab your beverage of choice at Cabin Coffee. And like they say on their cups, just be happy and have fun. All right. Before we get to a little Bucks chat here, Minder, want your thoughts. Are you good with what the Bucks did at the trade deadline, just acquiring Jay Crowder? Would you have liked to have seen them do more? Do you think they're going to be active in the buyout market? Hit me up with a text, 715-830-1912, along with your Super Bowl picks. I got to add Austin's name up under the Chiefs there. So, but before we get to a little Bucks chat, let's catch up on some of the regional stuff here with our good buddy, Mr. Brandon Berg, who you, sir, got to watch a little OT hockey last night.
I did.
Like Memorial and Chi High, was it?
Yes.
Right.
Up at Chippewa Ice Arena.
Now, I know like the seedings had already come out,
yes.
So that didn't really affect it too much, but still, it's a conference game.
Well,
right?
it's a conference game. It was a regular season finale for both teams, and you always want to be able to go into the regular season with some momentum if you can help it. So,
right.
That was a 4-3 overtime win for the Old Abes. Came back from a 3-1 deficit to, first force overtime and then win it late in the first overtime. So, an excellent game, and as I remarked to a few people I was talking to during the game, I feel like it's the type of game I've seen many, many times between the Cardinals and the Old Abes over the years where, I won't say it starts slow, but just starts one way and then suddenly kind of business picks up a little bit. It's getting a little more physical. People are getting excited. Like I can't tell you how many times I've seen that type of game over the years between these two teams, but two programs that obviously have had just a ton of really good teams over the years and entering the postseason, that was kind of a big part of what my story was about was just how loaded that Division I sectional is, where Eau Claire Memorial is the 1 seed, Chip was the 5 seed. You've got Stevens Point 2. I think 3 of the top 5 ranked teams in the Wisconsin Prep Hockey D1 poll are in that section with those two, as well as Hudson, who's the 4 seed. You've got a very good Superior team that's at 3. You've got Wausau West, who's playing well at 6. You've got Eau Claire North, who's playing pretty well, too, at 7. So, it's, both coaches, from last night kind of agreed that really, I mean, there's no favorite. There's no, it's, kind of this team or the field kind of a thing. It's just, it's going to be, whoever's playing the best, and chances are whoever that team is that comes out, I would expect it to fare well down in Madison because, that's the way it's been. I mean, the last 2 years, Hudson has gotten their toughest competition in the section, in the regionals and the sectionals, and went down to state and, won 2 titles convincingly a few years, or the year before that in 2020. Chahai went down there and took the eventual state champion to double overtime before falling in the state semifinals. So it's going to be a doozy if you like hockey, and you're going to be able to see a lot of good hockey here in this area in the coming few weeks, as you've been able to all year.
And I know when Justice was in on Monday talking about that, and he was very high on New Richmond. He kept talking about New Richmond and that
they're very impressive. I mean, it takes a lot to be a team that wins the Big Rivers when your name is in Hudson or Memorial. They've won pretty much all of them since going back to like the early 90s, and for them to be able to do that with just one loss in conference play. Beating Hudson twice, beating Chippewa twice, splitting with Eau Claire Memorial. Like, to me, they've got to be the favorite in Division II right now, just because of that. And they're ranked number 1 in the state rankings Division II, so that's not exactly a big stretch to say. But to see a team like that be able to do that, that's pretty darn impressive.
And I mean, and it's. And I think he kind of mentioned too, maybe a little chip on their shoulder, because when you talk about this conference, it is Memorial, it's Hudson, you got North on there too, and Chai, then kind of came out of under the radar.
It can be hard to break through, but something interesting to consider is the last 2 years, the Big Rivers has won 2 of the 3 hockey state championships. Last year was Hudson and Rice Lake sweeping the boys. 2 years ago, it was Hudson winning the D1 boys and Chippewa Falls Menominee winning the D1, or just winning the girls. So, both of those conferences have been very well representative and very competitive, not just those last few years, but, throughout. So, you see a lot of really good hockey there. It's a great hockey conference, boys and girls.
Right. So we got those, and those start next week. The
Correct.
playoffs,
Tuesday
right?
we'll start the regional semifinals.
Okay.
A lot of boys teams in action. The girls teams will start on Thursday.
Okay.
With the regional finals. Chippewa Falls Menominee hosts Black River Falls. They're the 2 seed in that section. Picked up a big win on Tuesday over St. Croix Valley, who was the 1 seed. So Chippewa Falls Menominee goes into that into the playoffs actually with wins over every team in that section, and a lot of them have come really recently. That's a Sabres team that's starting to click at the right time.
Yeah. Got to mention, I know you've talked about him quite a bit, but this kid from Bloomer, 51 of the 65 points he scored for Bloomer last night?
Yes.
Boys basketball?
Dominic Schwarzenberger for Bloomer in their 65 defeat over in Fall Creek. And he's eclipsed 30 many times. And I think the thing that's most impressive out of that effort is the caliber of team he did it against. Fall Creek is a dang good team. I mean, that's a team that at the end of next week could be, all alone atop the Western Clover Belt. They have a huge matchup with McDonald on Tuesday, but, Fall Creek is state ranked, very well coached with Rick Storley, and a very good team, a team that's won, I think, the last 2 Western Clover Belt titles. So, to be able to have that kind of success against a team of that caliber, I mean, that's saying something. And, I believe that's a school record for Bloomer. I think the previous one was 50 for Gabe Matson.
That's not bad company. I was going to ask.
That's not bad company at all. No,
yeah.
I mean, once you're hit, it's weird because for me, like the number since I've been here for a long time was 52 because that's the number that Tyson Killeen put up for Chahai. I think it was 2011. I think it was 2011 against Oakland North, and and other players have scored more, but that's just the number I always remember because it was my first year here, and just obviously when that happens, it sticks in your head.
Right.
But now, I mean, then within the last 2 months, there's been 2 kids that have scored at least 50 points. Eddie Minimark scored 52 for McDonald back at the end of December, and now having Dominic Schwarzenberger score 51 last night, like that doesn't happen often, and then to see it happen twice in less than 2 months
Is he a senior?
He's a junior.
Junior. Okay, so he hasn't no decisions on like college or anything like that.
No,
so
but I mean he's
making.
You have the feeling that junior year is a lot of time when you kind of start to get that movement. But I mean it's been really fun to see him kind of work his way into becoming. And he's not just a scorer. Like last year, he played on a Bloomer team that was pretty senior heavy, and he found his niche as a shooter. That was his role. But he knew that going into the offseason, like, okay, I got to expand my game. I can't just do that. So he worked on getting to the basket. He worked on, getting stronger. And you see it in his game. Like, he's not just a kid that's going to sit out the 3-point line and just shoot. He gets to the basket. And I think the other impressive thing, too, is, for all the success he had in that game last night, he only had 1 foul.
Oh, wow.
Like, it wasn't like, he was never in foul trouble or, like, people might go after him or whatever. But no, he holds his own on defense as well. Like, he's just a really good player.
Yeah, because I know was it a couple weeks ago he had or a few weeks ago was it the Regis?
Yeah, he had a game against Regis, and he's had 4 or 5 games, something like that, where he scored at least 30 points. I mean, I know he leads Chippewa County in scoring, and that's that's a pretty impressive feat this year because there's a lot of kids that are it just seems like scoring is up a little bit, at least in my immediate coverage area from the numbers I see on a nightly basis, and he's at the top of that list.
Then I know a couple nights ago on the girls' side of things, McDonald clinched. Did you say their first program outright?
The first outright Western Clover Belt title for the program, the first of any kind since the late '80s when they won the old Central Wisconsin Catholic Conference back in the WISA days. So
wow,
it had been a little bit, and McDonald had been really close. I think it was like 5 of the last 6 years prior to this year, they had finished 2 games or closer to the top of the conference title, but hadn't won it. I think 4 of those 6 they were within like a game and a half. The COVID impact the 2021 season, that was obviously a little bit different because not everyone played the same amount of games because certain teams run pause and stuff like that. But they've been in that race pretty much every year for more than the last half decade, and just hasn't quite clicked. They've run into good teams, be it Osseo Fairchild or going back a little bit further, Eau Claire Regis, and just were never able to quite get over the hump. And this year they were able to, and then some. They go into tonight's game against Cadott with a chance to be unbeaten in conference play, which I think would be the first team since I think Regis in 2016 that made it through the Western Clover Belt unblemished, which does not happen very often.
Right, man. So where are we at in terms of like brackets and that sort of stuff coming up for
Well,
hoops?
the girls basketball pairings will come out on Sunday.
Okay.
And that, along with the boys next weekend, is going to be automated like football was in the fall.
Oh, is that the first time this year for that, or?
I don't know offhand. I don't
Okay.
remember if they did last year or not.
Okay.
So I don't want to misspeak on that, but I don't remember.
Okay.
So that's going to be coming out Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And a bit like they did for football, they're having a reveal party, kind of a reveal of, hour show kind of a thing. So it'll be, I think it's like 2:00, maybe 1 or 2:00. I forget when, but so we'll know. And that, that'll be kind of a neat just to see. And, I know there's a lot of people that are, kind of interested in how this, how it's going to work, because it's automated. The WIA has a formula that they use for it, but they don't really say what the formula is because they don't want teams kind of
maybe to manipulate it a little
bit.
Like
if say it's based more on win-loss record, well, then maybe you're scheduling a few more, blowout teams, or if it's smart, they'll tell people what goes into it, but they won't necessarily say what.
Right.
So, you don't necessarily have teams that may be able to manipulate it with their schedule, I think.
Gotcha.
But, that is leaving some coaches a little uneasy because you're just not sure. You can have, a lot of times when you get to this point, you're going to have teams that, for certain spots are going to have pretty similar records. So, what's going to be the thing that, boosts one team over the other, and you really don't know. And it's, I know for football, coaches really liked it, even if, sometimes, there were some seeds that they didn't quite, people didn't quite understand. They still liked it compared to, the prospect of staying up really late Friday night to see who's in your, group. And then you have to go and travel because you have a neutral site, like, seating meeting, and that can take a while. And sometimes those are just kind of, conference flag waving ceremonies where if you got a bunch of teams from the same conference, everyone always thinks their conference is good. So it's, to clean up a little bit, as far as football goes, I once had a coach refer to it to me as, and I'll clean this up for radio, but a giant peeing match. Let's put it that way. And I can definitely see it. And, it's going to be very interesting to see how it develops for girls basketball this week, because obviously there's a lot of really good teams around here. In Division 5, you have to assume Prairie Farm will be the 1. And I think McDonald's probably got a pretty good case to be the 2. But then there's other teams in play there, like a New Auburn or a Clear Lake or a Turtle Lake or whoever. And you're going to get a little bit bigger there. You've got Cadott, who's going to be seated fairly well, but teams like Fall Creek and Osseo, who are going to be right there, and they're going to be contenders as well. And it's a fun time, as I always say. Once it gets to February, everything kind of clicks. And we've also got boys swimming sectionals this week in Division 1 in Hudson. Wrestling.
I was just going to ask about
wrestling. And wrestling is a little bit different this year for Division 2 and 3 because they've gone from. It's not called technically a regional anymore. They refer to it as a super regional, which basically what it means is you've got more teams at a wrestling regional.
Okay.
But the difference for Division 1 or Division 2 and Division 3 only is you're going to have more kids that advance. In the past, you'd only have your top 2 finishers in a weight class advance to sectionals. That changes this year. You have more teams there now.
Okay.
But you're also going to send 4, which is what Division 1 does. And from a few coaches I've talked to, they really like that because there's some regions that were just super stacked, and it doesn't take much to have 2 state-ranked kids. I remember a few years back, Gavin Teagles from Cadott, who went on to win 2 state titles for Cadott. I think it was maybe his freshman year. One of his first years, he finished 3rd behind 2 kids that went on, I believe, to finish on the podium at state in his weight class.
Oh, geez.
It just so happens that he had 2 older kids that were, and it's just like, chances are he was better than, maybe some, and that's just, how it was. But this is maybe a little bit more of a, of a fair way to make sure that you're getting around the state your best kids through. And then, look, once you get to sectionals, you're still going to have to win matches anyway.
Right.
But, maybe it's not quite a daunting task if you're a good wrestler, but you're in a region that just so happens to, 1 year have 2 really good wrestlers.
Right. Okay. So we got, it's coming up fast here. So thanks for breaking that all down, Brandon. Quick look at some Blue Gold schedule because their winter season is going to be wrapping up here, even though some of their spring sports have been getting underway. Yeah. Lacrosse is already going on there too. So you got gymnastics Coming up, these are tonight. So you got gymnastics. That's the alumni and senior night at McPhee. You got men's indoor track and field at UW Stout, along with women's indoor track and field. As we mentioned, lacrosse, they're in Texas right now. Hockey, men's hockey is taking on Stout. Wrestling, got the WIAC championships beginning. Women's hockey is going to be taking on Northland. Tennis, they're in Minnesota. Then you got men's basketball tomorrow taking on the Pointers. Women's also taking on the Pointers. And you got swimming and diving WIAC championships starting next week. So they're starting to wrap up there as well, because these are the last couple games of the regular season for hoops coming up here too. All right. Speaking of hoops, we got to take a quick break, and then we're going to finish up this hour talking some Bucks. Brandon's donned in his Bucks gear. If you can't see it on the video stream there, hat and hoodie. What does he think about the moves made by the deadline for the Bucks? Does he wish that they would have done more? Do I wish that they would have done more? We'll talk about it coming up in just a couple minutes. Valentine's Day is coming up, so are you looking for that perfect gift for your Valentine this year? Any ideas what you're thinking of getting? Well, for one, jewelry is out of style this year. No need for that. This year, get something that your Valentine really needs, and that's some new tires for their vehicle from ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. It's a gift that gives in different ways. Not only will you be replacing those old, unsafe tires for your Valentine, but having new tires will help them improve their gas mileage, which we know helps save some money as well. And speaking of being safe, getting those new tires will improve their traction, which we all know here in Wisconsin is incredibly important with all these snow-covered roads. Or maybe your Valentine is restoring a vehicle that they need that hard to find used auto part. Well, bingo, because ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you find that part to complete their restoration project. So I gave you the perfect plan. Now it's up to you to execute it. Head on over to ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire and visit their website, asapusedautopartsec.com, to make Valentine's Day special this year. We got about 11 minutes to the top here. Are you good with what the Bucks did at the trade deadline yesterday? Something that has been rumored since October. They finally got it done on the last day, trade deadline day. Jay Crowder coming over to the Bucks. He was a part of the KD trade that went to the Nets, so maybe it was a little bit easier to acquire him because, well, Nets. Brandon, do you know of another team that was in a position? And I get it, with the circumstances, but I can't remember another team who was in a playoff position, like fourth, fifth, whatever they were in the Eastern Conference, and their two best players are now shipped off, and they're in like total rebuild situation right now. What a mess that whole thing was. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, to quote the great orator Ron Burgundy, that really escalated quickly.
So they get Crowder. They also, they sent a boatload of second round picks. They also moved George Hill, Jordan Nora, and Serge Ibaka to Indiana. So they've got a couple roster spots open. I feel like they're going to be active in the buyout market. But just looking at the trade deadline and the moves they made, are you good with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone was really looking for them to rock the boat after what we've seen the last few weeks after they've gotten back to full health and seen the success they've had.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to be just a prisoner of the moment and say, well, we've had a good couple weeks, so everything's going to be good forever.
Right.
So going out and getting someone like Jay Crowder that can play, that's a tough defender that's played in a bunch of playoff games. The chance to have him come home to a place obviously he wanted to play, although he wouldn't be in Milwaukee if he didn't want to be there.
Right.
I think just adds,
He's excited, it seems like, on Twitter, sort of thing. He hasn't played, so you'd think he's fresh.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
May take a little, maybe a little bit like Chris Middleton. That may take a little bit to get the rust off, but hey, that's what the rest of the regular season's for.
Right.
And as far as, giving up, a small army of second round picks, man, I mean, there are second round picks in the NBA that hit, but not a lot. I mean,
I think it almost depends on the team too. Like,
there's certain teams that, and that's it. Like, you're not going to really find some. I mean, look, the Bucks found Malcolm Brogdon there at some point. So obviously, not just going to say, "Oh, they never work," but it's also the picks that are oftentimes announced with a little name bar at the bottom of the screen while you're in commercial or someone's talking. So it's not like they're, So to me, you're trading away kind of some ancillary parts in that way when it comes to those picks for something of note.
Mm-hmm. And I think the big thing here is going to be his defense that Crowder brings, right? I mean, I think we use a comparison couple, maybe like when the Bucks acquired PJ Tucker, not the biggest threat. It's not to say he can't score.
He can hit threes from outside, but
I think the reason they're bringing him in is for that defense, and now you're kind of looking a little bit at the Western Conference and, hey, if you got to play the Suns again, with KD over there or, even with the Celtics and Tatum and such, you got a defender now that maybe you're comfortable and that aggressive defender to throw out there.
Yep, exactly. That's, I'm sure that was kind of priority number one on the acquisition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm good with it. I think they will be. I don't know who they're going to target. I know I was seeing some stuff, they're looking for some guard play. Like Derrick Rose's name has been thrown out there as a. I feel like Derrick Rose has been mentioned as a Buck possibility for the last few years now, for crying out loud. Patrick Beverley, somebody threw out there, because he was traded to the Magic.
Yeah,
I can't imagine him staying there.
It sounds like that the Magic basically said like they're not expecting him to report or they're not saying you have to kind of thing. So maybe
they'll buy him out.
You get that a lot of these deals with teams that are acquiring. Really, they're acquiring draft assets or to get certain players off their books. you know, to kind of and just letting these players kind of go, and then they, like you said, with the open market to kind of, you know, drop on a contender somewhere.
Right. Yeah. So that would be you're talking about another defensive kind of get in your face, annoying type of defender.
Does he end up back in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Obviously, he had some success there last year. So.
Yep.
And then with them making a deal too, maybe there's that open. Not only is the place he can go where he's familiar, but also a place where he might be able to make an impact.
Do you think they need more shooting, or do you think with the fact that Chris Middleton is back, I think he'll be back in the starting lineup at some point.
Yeah, there's no need to rush it right now.
Do you think they need more shooting, more offense, or do you think they got enough?
I think you can never have enough, but I mean, if there was someone out there that could help with that, I don't think you turn it down. Just because you never know. In the postseason, you're keeping your rotations pretty tight unless you have to dig in deeper because of, you know, injuries or because of foul trouble. But you know, that's one of those things. If you can have a guy that, you know, kind of comes off the bench and hits you 2 or 3 threes, well, that makes all the difference in the world.
Right. So, I think they got a team right now. When you factor in Crowder, they got a team that can win it all.
Yep.
I think they've got the talent on here to do it. Now, that's not to say I'm not opposed to them bringing in a couple more, but they don't need like what the Sun did and getting a KD or Big Mo, what the Lakers are doing, you know, bringing in, you know, like D'Angelo Russell or
Mo Bamba.
like Mo Bamba. Man, my Magic are just struggling, dude. But I think they've got a team when they're all healthy. And that's the other thing here too is we're forgetting Bobby Portis is still out. You know, they're on a 9-game winning streak, and Bobby Portis is still out, and Middleton's coming off the bench with this thing. So, you know, I do think there's also you could do too much that could affect your team.
Yeah, you want to have the touch of a safe cracker. You know, not a
look at you with these analogies.
A safe cracker, not a piece of dynamite. Like you want to be able to, you know, help a little bit, but not upset the apple cart, as the veterans would say.
Is Giannis playing some of his best, if not the best basketball of his career during this latest stretch?
I think you can make that case. I mean, with a couple 50-point games in there and
38 again last night with 3.
There's been some games where it's like, oh, he kind of had an off night. You're looking at triple double. Like, yeah, it's just
I want to bring up the actual number what he's kind of been doing here as of late, because I feel like it's almost, you know, and I know he said I think he prefers this. He wants to play boring basketball in a sense that this is just, you know, what it's been. But so he's third right now in the league in scoring. He's number 1 in rebounding. I don't know if how many people realize that Giannis is leading the league in rebounds per game right now. But you look at his last 10 games. Last 10 games. Actually, wait, 9 games here. It says last 10, but in the 9 games that he has played in, 37.6 points per game. That's okay. 14 rebounds per game. That's okay. 5.4 assists per game. Pretty darn solid. That's amazing numbers right now.
Yeah.
That's
and at this point,
fantastic.
like, it's not, you know, we're not going crazy for it because it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah.
Like he's, you know, that's a certain status that you see with superstar players where they will do remarkable things. You know, just go, oh, yeah.
I think, was it Dan Patrick, I think, said it the other day. It was after Giannis's latest 50. He said, you know, when I was at ESPN, that would have let off ESPN.
Yes. I mean, I think that was last Friday.
Yeah.
I was listening too. Yeah. Where that was a big deal when somebody hit 50.
Yeah. Like that would have let off. That would have been the main thing. And it's just like, yeah, you got another 50.
Yep.
You know, sort of thing. It's like, there you go. And I don't know if it's just because it's now, if that happened in La La Land with the Lakers, does that lead off? Is that sort of thing? Or is it just because it happens more now in the NBA?
Probably, but I think I know somebody that's probably not impressed by those numbers, and that's Trent Dilfer.
You had to pull that one out, huh?
I did at some point. I didn't know when that would come around, so I had to take my shot when I had it.
Giannis could actually, if he continues with this trend, he will average more points per game. He's never averaged in a season 30 points per game. Closest was last year, actually, 29.9. It was 28.1, then 29.5. Right now, he's at 32, 32.3. Rebounds, he's, kind of more than the last couple of years, but 13.6, 12.5 he's had on his resume there too. But free throw percentage is down compared to last year, but he's still a career 71 for all the all the talk about his free throw percentage, the lowest in his career was that 2019 season when he was 63. But for all the talk that everybody has about it, you would think he's like Shaq at the
it'd
free
be like
throw line.
50% or
or like
lower.
Chris Dudley back in the day, like the 40s or something, or who was, but he's career wise at 71%. So, obviously you'd like that probably at least in the 80s. In an ideal world,
Yeah.
you'd like that. But I mean, I don't know. It's we have this narrative that he's just awful at the line, and
it's just comparative to everything else.
Yeah. Here, the interesting here too, and maybe it's just because it's recency thing here, but he is averaging 33.4 minutes per game, which is more than the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Last 4 years. And again, could it be because of the injuries that were, and that sort of thing,
so.
and
I
putting
think
in
that
there.
hopefully once this gets everybody back, I think you're gonna, especially down the stretch, you'll see that kind of trickle down a little bit to get cranked back up for the playoffs.
Yeah, and with a guy like Crowder in there, it's that will help alleviate some of the minutes too, and then when Bobby Portis comes back too.
Yep.
So, but they got the Clippers tonight, and then that big game against Boston on Tuesday. Maybe that one will decide who's going to be first place in the East by the All-Star break.
Could be, yeah, because we got the All-Star break coming up next weekend, right?
Yep, because it's only 3 more games to the All-Star break: Clippers, Boston, Chicago, and the All-Star break, and then it's kind of like a race to the finish here.
Yeah, because it's less than 2 months. You got a few games at the end of February, a busy March, and then that first week or so of April. And yeah, April is always it's a busy time, but NBA playoffs is
Yeah, you
one of
got
them.
3 games to finish out the month of February, and then a busy March, but then just a few in April, and then boom. We were talking about like a spring sports extravaganza. The one thing I didn't mention was NBA playoffs and that whole thing, because that you're talking about March Madness. Like we were talking about opening day. March 30th is opening day.
Woo!
You have the Final Four that weekend. You have the Masters the following weekend. You got NBA playoffs then actually starting.
Yeah, NHL playoffs are in there too.
Yep, and then the NFL draft. I mean, it's going to be boatload. And then we're not even talking about you got spring turkey hunting and the opener of fishing first Saturday in May, for crying out loud.
And I forget if it's that first weekend or not, but obviously the biggest event of all of them's 2-night WrestleMania. All the hits, all the favorites, all the big events.
That's an old school radio promo right there. All the hits.
All the hits, all the favorites.
Hits.
Yep. 1st and the 2nd of April, so the same weekend as the Final Four, which is interesting scheduling on their behalf.
Yeah. All right, we got 2 in. Let's talk some more Super Bowl. Last call for your picks. Get those babies on in or vote on Twitter. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, final hour kicking off right now as we are getting set for Super Bowl weekend. Surveyor Sam's got a good question that I will throw out to all of you as well. We're going to take a few minutes to kind of think about this because I need just a couple.
Yeah,
minutes
we
to
want
think
to
about it.
be able to lead with a strong foot here.
Yep. So, surveyors throwing out DK. What's your 4-piece or what's your dream 4-piece Super Bowl spread? 3 food items and a drink. Mine are chicken wings, shrimp cocktail, taco dip, and I'm going to say a beer because I'm offended of the, you didn't say man cave light in there, surveyor. So I'm just going to say beer for you.
A beer.
A beer. So correct answer is man cave
An
light.
inferior beer.
So the rest of you can play along. Give us your. I kind of thought about this, and I kind of forgot about it. So I'm glad surveyor threw out there because obviously,
Food's a part of the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I'm more
I've
of
heard.
the snacky type of food. For
Yeah,
Super Bowl.
I'm not eating like a heavy meal. You're just kind of grazing.
Yep, like a cow.
Cow.
Grazing out there. So send us your spreads. We'll go by surveyors rules here. 3 foods, one beverage. 3 food, 1 beverage. Text it. Shoe Doctor's bullpen line.
And no pressure on what that beverage is after what Dan just did. Survey.
Or you can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, in the video stream over there too. So I keep moving your camera, by the way. So I apologize for that. Are you ready to make your official pick for the Super Bowl?
I am.
Are you? Okay. Well,
are you?
Let's do a quick update on the Twitter. How are the people on Twitter voting? It's gotten a little bit closer, but still 54.2% of you voting for the Chiefs. But on the big board here,
the board guests.
Yeah, we got, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think it's 12-9.
Is it 12-9? Okay, so a three vote difference. So if we did all the math, it's pretty close to 50-50.
Yeah.
Right now.
Which is about right, I think.
Yep. But the majority on the board is Eagles. Eagles, even after Dr. Crow picked the Chiefs. So, Brandon, who are you voting for?
Well, obviously, I've thought about this a lot because I knew this was going to come up. And the more I thought about it, the more I've leaned in the direction I'm going to go with Philadelphia.
Ooh. I'm going to put your name out there and you tell me why.
All right. Well, I
we're making it official as soon as your name's on
there.
Yep,
I know. Well, when you wrote Dr. Crow's name up there, I had to ask if you were using a Sharpie because it did look like a Sharpie permanent marker. But no, the more I kind of look at this matchup, I think that the Eagles have the better all-around roster. Now, the Chiefs have certain very high-end talent. I mean, obviously Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league. Travis Kelce, best tight end in the league. Chris Jones is a monster on the D-line. But I look at the match. For me, what it comes down to, what I'm looking at is the battle in the trenches. Mm-hmm. I like that Philly offensive line to keep Jalen Hurts clean. I like that Philly defensive line to be able to put some pressure on Mahomes without having to send the house. And otherwise, I also like that offensive line for the Eagles to be able to open up some running lanes. If Philadelphia can run the ball, I think they have an excellent chance of winning, just simply because, that's one of those things that works twofold. Not only are you, doing what you do best, but you're also keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field. Mm. So I'm going to go Philly 27-23.
Interesting. All right.
Did anyone else give a score?
Some did, but I didn't keep track
of it. Poppycock.
Yeah, that's just too much writing for me. Let's just be real. So, all right, you make some good points. You make some valid points over there, sir. However, I am going to stick with my Chiefs, 31-30.
Ooh, and you gave a score too.
Yeah, that was my first one since it all first started, and I'm going to ride with it. You mentioned the running game, and I also think that if the Chiefs can run, because that's the one thing the Eagles have struggled is stopping the run this year. And I don't know what the availability of, I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been activated and such, but how much of a role is he really going to have? You got Isaiah, the young speedster over there. Yep. But if the Chiefs can run and have some success, I'm not saying they have to run the ball 25, 30 times.
No.
But if they make it respectable, and it's not like, everybody in the world knew the 49ers were going to run the ball and the Eagles just unloaded.
Yeah, when you lose your starting quarterback and hey, this is the only way you can move the ball. Yeah, that's a little bit different.
Exactly. I think Patrick Mahomes is, he may not be 100%, but he's going to be Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce, I'm not really concerned about with the back spasms and such that he had a couple weeks ago.
By the way, did you know that Travis Kelce and his brother are both playing in this game?
Did you know? Okay.
This is actually the first I've heard of this.
Well, I want to know. You hear about the mom all the time. Finally, I heard about the dad a little bit, but it's all about the mom right now, and she's bringing cookies and all that sort of stuff. But anyways, I didn't know if there was something going on there, but then they were doing an interview together. So, but they're not sitting next to each other in the Super Bowl. She's going to be with Roger Goodell, apparently. He's going to be in the stands. So, but what was I going to? Yeah, I just lost my train of thought. Thank you, Brandon.
I have a tendency to do that.
I want to know what kind of cookies were in there. Did they say?
I don't think so.
Chocolate chip? M&Ms?
I hope so.
Peanut butter? Yuck. I have to say yuck because I'm allergic. So
oatmeal raisin.
Ooh, what's your go-to homemade cookie?
That'd be chocolate chip.
Well, that's pretty boring.
It is, but hey, the classics are the classics for a reason, man.
It's got to be soft. Can't be that hard.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Put a little bread in there to take, whatever the old school thing is there. But no, and then I agree with you too. Like I think it's going to be a couple things. I think is going to be decided here. One, whoever wins the turnover battle. I think turnovers are, if one team's going to turn it over 2 or more times, they're going to lose, giving extra possessions to these offenses. And who wins up front? You mentioned, yes, the Eagles have one of the best offensive and defensive fronts. But the Chiefs, remember, I was bringing this up. Remember a couple years ago in their Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, and their tackles were out, and Tampa Bay just had a field day with. So they invested in their offensive line.
Orlando Brown.
Yeah. Creed Humphrey is probably one of the best centers, and he was picked right after Myers from Green Bay, their center. I hate to bring that up, but so they'll be better than what they were. I'm not saying they're all world, but they'll be better. Chris Jones is a defensive player of the year type of player. I mean, he has exploded. Frank Clark has had a tremendous postseason getting after the quarterback too. But you got a young secondary, you got some rookies on that Chiefs defense too, which makes you a little bit nervous. But I think if whoever can get after, and then they got to contain Jalen Hurts. They can't just, get up the middle and let Jalen Hurts hit the edge and run. But if Jalen Hurts continues to say he's not 100%, something's going on there with that shoulder. Something's going on a little bit. So that's why I feel like this is going to be. I feel like if it's a shootout, it favors the Chiefs. If it's a low scoring, grind it out affair, it favors the Eagles. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair.
So I'm going 31-30 Chiefs. I'm going to write it on the board, man. I'm going to write it.
Once it's written on the board,
I've gone back and forth on this thing, but I'm going Chiefs. And I will admit, part of this is because I don't want to hear from Philly fan Dave. Unless he's going to get a tattoo on his behind with Fly Eagles Fly there or something. He's got to put it on the back shoulders, and then he can do the wing, like the Angels in the outfield sort of thing, and then it just says Fly Eagles Fly. So I think we need to come to an agreement that if the Eagles do win, and if Philly fan Dave is listening right now, he's got to get a tattoo on his back, the upper back, in between the shoulder blades that says Fly Eagles Fly. And then he's got to do the Angels in the outfield sort of thing. Nobody, and here's the other key that nobody's talking about. As far as I have seen, Brandon, nobody has put a Chiefs jersey on the Rocky statue.
That's big. That's huge.
That's
analytics right there.
I know Travis Kelce said, don't do it. And I don't think anybody's done it. You got a couple days yet. Don't do it.
Don't give yourself bad juju.
If I see it, I am switching my pick. Because then that guarantees an Eagles win. Yep. Your Vikings did it a couple years ago. I mean, the 49ers did it. So don't do it.
I'm not superstitious, but I also don't like to test fate.
Yeah. Speaking of Rocky, I don't know if there's this podcast. It's a website called Art of Manliness. It's interesting. I mean, it's literally got it talks about everything. But these writers, I'm getting off the beat here a little bit, but I'm giving more time for people to send over their meals for Super Bowl. But this writer or writers rank the top Rocky movies. It's erroneous. They didn't factor in Creed's, but Brett and Kate McKay, you don't know what you're talking about. So it's the 6th Rocky. What are you looking at me like that for?
No, I've got something to say, which is very timely given this conversation, but I'll wait till you're done.
All right. Well, their rankings are Rocky 5 is the worst, which is agreeable. But the erroneous thing here Number 5, Rocky 4. Rocky 4. Then at 4, they've got Rocky 3. Then it's Rocky Balboa, which is the 6th one, where, he's old and he's fighting the current, heavyweight champion. But they got that ranked as the 3rd best Rocky movie. And then number 2 is the original, the first one. And then number 1 is Rocky 2. I can get on board with Rocky 2 being number 1. In fact, I will agree with that. But there is no way in HE double hockey sticks is Rocky 4 the 5th on this list of 6. That is number 2. If you want to say it's number 1, I ain't even going to argue with you. I won't, because those are the top 2. Then you could go with Rocky 1 because it sets the story. It's the Academy Award winner. Then it's Rocky 3, straight up for Eye of the Tiger and the soundtrack alone. I mean, and then you got the sadness of Mickey passing away. If I'm spoiling a movie that's over 30-some years old, that's your own fault for not watching it. Then who cares about Rocky Balboa and Rocky 5? Because those are the 2 worst of that. This list is awful. And I don't think they've watched those movies. Just awful. It's a grind my gears Friday right there. I've been holding on to this for a couple days. Okay, what now?
Well, the thing I was going to bring up was that literally last night, for the first time, I watched the ESPN 30 for 30 on Tommy Morrison.
Oh, Tommy Gunn.
Who was in Rocky 5.
Rocky 5.
So that's, which, I mean, I didn't know, but obviously that's just tremendous timing.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it. How is it?
It's good. And it talks about how, the movie was not critically acclaimed, as you say, but it definitely helped him with his career. And it's, and it's, I don't know, I've always found boxing, especially, 70s, 80s, 90s to be so interesting because it was such a big deal.
I know. If there was one sport I wish I could get involved in more is boxing.
Yeah. Because I remember in the 90s, even though I didn't necessarily follow too much, just how big of a deal it was. I remember, it's one of those things like you remember where you were. Like I remember where I was for the Holyfield Tyson fights and you go earlier on and just
biting the ear off.
And the chasing Tyson 30 for 30 is one of my favorites because it talks about the long road it took to get to Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know, but it's Rocky 2 or Rocky 4. I don't care if you want to pick that one as one. I will go slight edge of Rocky 2 because it has a little bit of everything in it. And it's a very underrated soundtrack. Very underrated. It's a little bit more of the drama. I like the fight scenes better in that one. I still get on the edge of my seat. Get up.
Get up, Rock.
Get up. Fun fact, for the Rocky movies, I don't know if anybody kind of realizes this, but after Rocky 1, because Rocky 1, he knocks down Apollo right away. Fool thinks it's a real fight. But after that, if you think about it, all the other knockdowns that Rocky has is the only knockdowns that he has.
Yeah.
Think about it. I don't know.
Are you saying that Rocky Balboa was a system boxer?
I'm just saying whenever Rocky knocks you down, you're down.
No, I thought you were implying that he just doesn't knock people down very much, so maybe he's a bit of a fraud.
No, he has come on. You know what he does. You break him down. Goes for those ribs. He breaks them down, chops them down that way. That's why he's always gotten hit in the head. Because he's trying to get inside and hit inside. That's why his head is all can you imagine if boxing was like the Rocky movies, for crying out loud? Holy moly. There would be congressional hearings. There would be bans. There would be some ridiculous things out there. So, but no. Saw that and I'm like, I've got both soundtracks, Rocky 2 and Rocky 4, still on CD. Classic hits. All right. Should we do some food stuff?
Yeah.
Tell you what, let's take a break. We got to do Cream of the Crop and the Carpet City.
Mm-hmm.
So tell you what, let's do that. Let's do, first we'll do the Carpet City local sports spotlight first, and then we'll do Cream of the Crop before we finish up things this morning. How about that? Is that okay with you? That work for you? Yeah, you're nodding your head?
Okay, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Brandon. So we'll do that, and then do you have your 3 foods and beverage?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'll tell you what, we'll take that quick break here, and then we'll be back talking some more Super Bowl after these quick words. All right, it's time to catch up with our good friends over from Hy-Vee. How's it going, girls?
It is going good.
Yeah, getting ready for the big game this weekend.
Oh yeah, we got all kinds of stuff going out. We're making all kinds of appetizers,
Yes.
dips, and fresh made chips. All kinds of good stuff.
I
so.
think when it comes to the big game, it's all about like the snack type meals,
Snacks
right?
and snacks,
the dips and all
yeah.
that. You know, just go up and get a few trips and all that sort of stuff. Like
Yeah.
no big meals, just the snacky stuff.
It's all about snacking. We got chips
Yeah.
and we got our store made chips. We got fresh made wings, and we can meat department's got the ones you can put your own sauce on. You can get pre-sauced ones at the Market Grill. We got everything going there.
Wings are the go-to one here. Your Market Grill, you mentioned that. I always grab one of those, I think, every week as a quick lunch or supper. When me and my wife will go over there and we just kind of peruse through, and I'm always grabbing either the wings or the Caesar wrap.
Caesar wrap, those are pretty good.
Yep, those are my go-to ones.
Yeah, that's a go-to lunch item.
Yes.
So.
You got so are you guys wings? Are you bone in or bone out? What kind?
That's
a big debate.
Boneless.
Boneless,
yeah. I don't know. My dad and my brother are big bone in, and I always have the debate. And I'm like, I don't know, they're just messy, and I always have trouble with the bones. I don't know.
Sometimes I just want to get a fork, stick it in there, and just eat it that way.
Go for it.
You know, dunk it in, maybe a little ranch or something. Depending
I'm a blue
on the
cheese lady over here.
Oh. See, blue cheese, I feel like it depends on which kind. There's some that I just can't do, some I can.
Oh, I like them all. I'm
really?
weird.
You're like my wife then.
I'll own it. I'm weird. I like it though.
Just like my wife Veronica, she's like, doesn't matter what kind. You just give me the blue cheese over there.
Cheese.
So, yeah, it's your go-to place. So if you're getting ready for the big game, maybe you're having a party, or maybe like what we're doing, we're just me and the kid, 5-year-old, we're having our own party. So we're getting all the snacks.
Too.
Yep.
Get the best part of the game.
Food is the best part of the game.
That's really, I don't have a team in it.
That people come for.
I mean, it's always great watching the game, but when you don't really have teams,
it's my excuse that I can splurge a little bit.
Yeah.
You can get the good food.
Yes, exactly. Christmas. Okay, that was already 2 months ago. I need to.
It's 2 months down the road. Now it's time you can get the good stuff that you don't usually buy.
Exactly. I like. Christmas is more like the big meal thing here too, and this is where I can.
Yes. Or if somebody didn't get the appetizer you wanted during Christmas, this is the time to get it.
Yep. Like mine is the chicken dip, the buffalo chicken dip.
Yeah, we make that in the Market Grill. It's good.
Yep, it's really good. So
put it in a little crock pot, getting warm, or you could even eat it cold. So.
Now I'm getting hungry. So load up for the weekend. It's coming up this Sunday over at Hy-Vee. Plus, a quick turnaround too. It's Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day's on Tuesday. If anyone wasn't aware, that's a big PSA for you. Our floral department's got you covered. We got flowers coming out of every department in the store, so don't worry about us running out. We got flowers going from $19.99 all the way up to like $100, depending on how big and special you want to make it. We can kind of do.
Or how much trouble you're in.
That's probably that too. And then on Valentine's Day, we also have a deal going on the Market Grill from 4 to 8. If you didn't make reservations or something, we're doing a steak dinner for $14.99 in the Market Grill. So we'll have a sirloin steak, baked potato, green beans, and you also get a little dessert tied in there with that for $14.99. And it's also during happy hours, so then you can get some good deals at the bar and sit down and have a good meal together at the Market Grill.
Get a man cave light while you're there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, fill it up there. That's again, I hate to bring up, but like my kiddo, he already picked out his Valentine's gift for his mom in your like with the gifts up front there.
Oh yeah.
He's a big dog guy, so he found this like little box that has a dog on there, but it's a Valentine's Day thing. So it was like we picked that up for his mom for Valentine's Day.
That's cute.
We were checking out this weekend and he spotted it. So that's found the gift there.
Yeah.
That's where she got me my Father's Day gift. There was a sign over there, and that's where I got Man, Myth, Legend, Grill Master, something like that on there.
That's awesome. It was from Floral, I think.
Yep. It's in the man cave right now.
All right.
So post it up there.
And you're teaching them young to get presents early. Don't wait till the last minute.
I think he kind of wanted it because it was a puppy.
He's gonna give it to her and then be like, "Can I have it?"
That's exactly what he does. That's exactly what that kid does.
He picked it up because he wanted it. That's what you got to do.
It is. All right. Thank you, girls, for stopping on in for chatting a little bit about Hy-Vee. And again, if you're looking for those last second Valentine's Day gift ideas, just head on over to Hy-Vee. That was weird. All right, Brandon. So I did a quick Google search. It hasn't been confirmed yet because there's some people thinking it's fake, but there's been a couple people that might have put something on the Rocky statue. Now there is some talk out there when I was looking at some of the Google stuff that it could be photoshopped on there, or that an Eagles fan did it.
Oh, a little subterfuge.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's bad juju too.
I was looking it up on my phone here a little bit, and so I don't know. Gonna play that.
Maybe Eagles it was Bigfoot.
Oh, don't get me on that now, right? We don't need to do that today. So, all right, Brandon, we got a lot of picks for wings and such on your thing there, and you're a wing guy. I mean, you talk about your crock pot full of wings that you do sometimes. So,
I did have one bad experience with wings during a Super Bowl, though.
Care to share?
Sure.
Okay.
It was the year the Packers beat the Steelers, and once we got to the point where we figured out the Packers were going to win, I just started drinking a lot and eating wings, and it didn't make for a very good evening or next morning.
Okay. Well said.
So it wasn't the wings' fault.
Yeah.
It was the Packers' fault.
Okay. So I will not say anybody who says a beer on there other than Man Cave Light. So that's the rule here. So let's go with you, Brandon. Be careful how you choose.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding.
I'm going to go with wings. We've had this conversation before, but as I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate bone-in more.
You have said this a few times.
Yep. So, I will go with my mom's potato salad just because it's good in any environment. I will go with some buffalo chicken dip.
Okay, that's your 3.
We're doubling up on the chicken because I love chicken. And I will go with Man Cave Light.
Well played. I know your real answer, but well played. So I'm going to go a different route here. I've got no problem with the wings, but I'm a dip guy. Give me the dips.
You are a dip.
I am a dip. So give me the dips, all of them. I will have one plate with just dips, and then give me a bowl of chips. So I'm going to go taco dip, a big heaping scoop of that, a big heaping scoop of buffalo chicken dip. What? You're giving me a look already?
No, I'm trying to visualize this. This is a lot of dip.
Oh, I could seriously. If you give me one of those containers of like French onion and a bag of Lay's or Ruffles, I will sit there and eat the whole thing. I don't care. I'll feel awful, but I'm sitting in my head. I'm like, I can just feel my arteries probably clogging up here a little bit, but I could eat that as a meal. So I'll go that route. And then for my third and final choice, like I know what we always usually do, but I would not put this on my third one. We always do like the barbecue weenies or meatballs and all that sort of stuff on there. But I think I'm going to go with like a shrimp dip, little shrimp cream cheese type of dip on there too. So those, I'm going straight up dips. If I could only pick 3, give me all the dips. Give me all the dips.
And drink?
Actually, no, I gotta kibosh that. I gotta take away the shrimp because I gotta put the chips.
Yeah.
I gotta put chips on it. So that's your 3. So if I'm following the rules,
you're following the rules.
It's gotta be chips on there. So and then beverage, Man Cave Light.
There we go.
But I should also mention though too, it would be a Dan Good Burger. Would be my next food one on there too. So Dan Good Burger, and then soon to be some brats from Mike's Star Market. So if I had to take away a dip and add a food on there, it's a Dan Good Burger. There you go. But I'm a dip guy. Like if I'm just stuck to 2, like I said, I'm like the snacky sort of thing
we're a grazer, not a one big meal and then you're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's there's a commercial break. Let's go grab a plate.
Are you like a commercial type of guy when it comes to Super Bowl?
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't know, and this is going to be just be me, something like I'm old, but I don't know. There's just not many anymore that I get excited about.
Yeah, unless they're going to bring back the Clydesdales and a dog in there.
Yeah,
you know?
there's not too many. Hopefully this year we have fewer crypto ones, but
Yeah, and I would think so.
probably no
unless it's
time. Probably
Brady.
I was saying, well, he's just 30 seconds of him without a shirt on.
First of all, not that I really looked at that picture that hard,
He has become Florida man.
but his face looks different. Is that really Tom Brady? It looks like a robot. Look at his face.
Is Tom Brady a robot?
There's something off on that thing. I'm just saying.
Tom Brady is now a middle-aged single man living in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, because he's taking a year off too. He ain't even doing broadcasting. So what is he gonna? I still feel like I've said this all week. I don't think he's gonna end up in the booth. I don't think he's gonna be calling games.
You gonna be studio analyst?
I don't think he'll. I think eventually he's going to be running a team because I think that competitive nature in him. He wants to win rings, and I think he wants to win rings either as like a part owner, making decisions, front office sort of thing. He's going to add rings to that. I can't see him being a guy that's going to hop on a plane every week, get to Green Bay, Wisconsin on a Thursday night or a Friday, do production meetings, call a game. I don't see that being Tom Brady. Maybe a studio guy and do the Jimmy Johnson route of flying in day out, flying in back day out sort of thing. I can't see him doing a color. And Greg Olson deserves to keep the job.
Yeah.
He absolutely deserves it. But I also get what Fox is doing is like Tom Brady.
You're making an investment in the in the brand.
You know you're instantly getting views.
And it's a calculated risk because Tom Brady might not be any good at it. We don't know.
But he's also Tom Brady. So
yeah,
it's not like Tony Romo where he came in hot and everybody's like pleasantly surprised how good, but now everybody hates him.
Yeah.
So, that ceiling's falling down pretty quick, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I don't, and the whole thing about leaking these and like playing them before, and it's like, what's the point? You're spending $6 to $7 million and then you're going to leak it?
Yeah. What's the point?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I get it. It's 2023 and it's a digital world of Twitter and Facebook and all that crap, but come on now.
I missed the year that Miller High Life had the 3-second commercial where it was just Wendell going, High Life.
That's right. I forgot.
And then that was it.
Oh, he passed away, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were good.
TPs,
Those were good
Bears.
commercials.
Yeah. Yeah. Then there was didn't Will Ferrell do? Was it a old Milwaukee one or something?
Yes, he did. Yes.
On there.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there one that stands out to you? Like even when you were a kid? I mean
I feel like you're for people of our age, I think you're always going to think of the Budweiser Frogs.
Yep, or the Was Up.
Yeah.
Those are in our age house. That's probably the top two.
Yeah. Those would be the ones I would say first of all.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying because I'm sure there was like a Doritos one that.
Sure. Maybe Doritos 3D blew your mind back in the day.
So this is from Yardbark, the top 25 Super Bowl. Yeah, I was wondering. I mean, older ones will go Joe Green.
Yeah,
we weren't around then for that one. I don't remember this Britney Spears Pepsi one.
I don't remember the commercial itself, but I remember that happened.
Okay. What else we got? Oh, the Cindy Crawford. That was a little before our time, just a skosh, I think, or maybe it was around our time. But oh, the Jordan and I didn't know this one was a Super Bowl one. When Jordan and Bird play horse, the McDonald's one.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I guess I didn't.
I didn't know that was a Super Bowl one, but I didn't. Yeah, the dog and the horse. And then where's the beef? I didn't.
Yeah, a lot of these we okay, that's a big deal. Just didn't know that they were Super Bowl commercials. Just thought they were just commercials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how about it? Terry Tate, office linebacker.
Terry Tate, office linebacker is great, but that's another one that I just because you can still find the longer. It's Reebok, by the way. That you can find videos online still. Those are classic.
Yeah. What has People got? People magazine. The Joy of Pepsi. Oh, that's the Britney. Yeah, that's the Britney Spears one. Volkswagen, the Force. What's up? Oh, is this the? No, that's not that one. That was 2000. The what is it? The Baby Monkey one. That was a few years ago. It was like a baby with a monkey's head or something. Happy Baby Monkey. Remember? You don't remember that one?
No?
Okay, because it'll get stuck in your head if I play it. I'm gonna find it now for you. That one got stuck in my head the whole time. So okay, I'll find it. It was. I think it was like a. Wasn't the baby e-finance ones out there too?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, but no, I gotta find that monkey one. Puppy Monkey Baby. It was Mountain Dew, Super Bowl 50. You don't remember? Yeah, you don't remember that one? Puppy Monkey Baby.
Well, now.
Exactly. Kind of a creepy picture because it's the bottom of a baby, it's the body of a monkey, and then the face of a pug. It's really creepy, but yeah. Okay. So you're rolling with the Eagles. I got the Chiefs.
I am.
I think it's if we add up what's in our board and what's on the Twitter poll,
pretty
it's
much
about
even.
50-50
Yep.
right
Which is
now.
about right. I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, but I was going to ask you, or I should mention, because this is worthy, former Minnesota Vikings great Super Bowl or quarterback Brett Favre.
I do, and I think we brought this up off air, but I do appreciate that. That's how Packer fans are referring to him.
Yeah,
and it's just I laugh at it.
Former Vikings great Brett Favre is suing Shannon Sharp and Pat McAfee, which I told you
We talked.
Yeah.
We talked about this off air a few weeks ago. You had mentioned it
That
wasn't it wasn't the direction out.
it was cryptic from McAfee, and I'm like, oh, and then people were saying, oh, he's getting sued by Favre, and then lo and behold, that's what
It's
it
happened.
was. So, but Favre is suing Shannon Sharp and Pat McAfee. That probably won't help out matters between Favre and Sterling Sharp, I would imagine. But
I don't know that
nonetheless,
things were not going great there.
I'm just imagining because Packer, sort of thing, whatever.
Oh.
But yeah, suing because of the comments that they made on their shows about the
His
whole welfare
ongoing situation.
Yeah. So I would have to imagine that's probably, I don't know if Favre will be showing up to any NFL events, maybe running into those people or not, but
that would be interesting if he did.
yeah. So in case you didn't see it, he is suing those. And then I think an auditor as well.
Yep.
So, but the big ones were Pat McAfee and Shannon Sharp. Wonder what Aaron thinks of that.
He's got plenty of time to think.
Is he
about
contemplating that in his
right
house
now?
of
He's got
darkness?
plenty of time to think about it.
House of Darkness. I got to email that guy back. I didn't tell you this. Okay, I'm going to tell you the story again because you probably missed it.
I think I did.
Hat Man? Hat Man?
Hat Man?
Yeah. Okay, people are going to get annoyed, but I got to tell you this story
Okay.
because a listener sent me something, and I got to email him back, and he's probably wondering if I'm ignoring the guy, but I'm not. So the thing that I'm just like, I'm weirded out by this whole thing with Roger, not weirded out, confused about, because he told, I think it was part of my take from Barstool Sports when he did a pod with him last year or the year before. But it was when he was doing some of this meditation or the ayahuasca, whatever thing he drank.
Ayahuasca.
Thank you. He started seeing this black cloaked figure that he calls Hat Man. And he's carrying a dagger and a dead rabbit. And he said at one time he was in the locker room by himself and the lights started to flickering and go off at Lambeau Field. Wasn't the ghost of Lombardi. He said he could hear Hat Man coming for him, like footsteps. He said he was so scared he ran out of the locker room, player's lot, got into his car, locked the door. And he said he still sees him from time to time. I'm like, then why in the world would you go in a house, no lights, no sounds, by yourself, and you might see Hat Man? Why would you do that if you're already like freaking out? So, and I said, I want somebody to send me a picture of what they think Hat Man looks. Lo and behold, somebody drew a picture of what Hat Man is, and it is kind of creepy. It is kind of creepy. So, yeah, that's the Hat Man story. What? Wouldn't you though? Like if you experienced that,
I would probably be pretty scared of that.
I wouldn't go to a house for 4 days where I've got no light and sound.
it's just not for me.
It's a horror movie waiting to happen. How many times do we got to watch these movies to know? Don't mess with that stuff, man. I mean, good Lord.
But the people that survive the horror movies come out of it better people. And
how long do they last, though? It depends if there's a remake.
I say if there's
or a sequel.
If there's a sequel, maybe not. But if there's not, they last forever.
Well, and I mean, not everybody's like Jamie Lee Curtis that can go on and on. But I just, whatever, dude. If that's what works for him, it works for him.
Yep.
It ain't working for me.
Yeah.
That would not be me. More power. You can last 4 days for that.
You're a stronger person than I'll ever be.
Yep. I can't do 30. I'd go nuts. Not counting sleep. If we're not counting sleep, I'd probably do 30.
I would probably try it cheap by just not sleeping like the 2 days before and then
just pass. Well, you're gonna go nuts those 2 days before then. I don't know. I know, like, I find it funny how odds makers are like hanging on to every little word on this whole sort of thing. They're like, because after the whole Raiders thing about, when he was at the golf tournament and you had Raiders fans and then like Devontae even having fun. So Vegas odd makers quickly switched everything. Like, it exploded. Packers were still the favorite. And then it exploded to, it's the Raiders now. It's the Raiders that are. And I get it. Vegas tends to know some stuff they're pretty accurate.
But they don't know everything.
But I feel like they over-exaggerated on the whole
They overcorrected
thing.
Potentially.
Yeah. And it was all based off of Raiders fans saying go to the Raiders. And Devontae, who even admitted saying, I'm the biggest troll.
I like to stir the pot.
Right.
Yep.
Like, what are we doing here? For what it's worth, Aaron Jones, who was on Jim Rome's show yesterday, said he thinks Aaron's coming back to Green Bay. And I'm sure fans probably won't agree with Aaron Jones' assessment here, but he said, for some reason, no, I feel like he'll be back. I don't know. He had fun this year. As he started getting later, we started clicking and gelling. You could tell we were in that step, and I think he sees that. I think we have all the pieces that we need, and he's as well. And I'm sure there will be a majority of Packers fans that probably would disagree with Aaron Jones' assessment, having all the pieces they need. But I do think he has a point in terms of the gelling part.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of obvious there, specific to the receiving part. But that's just me. Mark Murphy was also at the NFL Honors, and he had chatted a little bit with Diana Rossini from ESPN. But he had mentioned that there is no timeline. Let me see if I can. Here's the quote. There hasn't been a deadline. The sooner the decision is made, the better. Goody has been in contact with him, which is a little bit different than what Aaron said a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if that was, Aaron kind of like mentioned there's conversations going on without me. So I don't know if it was after that Goody started talking to him or Aaron was just flat out lying. Aaron has expressed that he doesn't want to drag it. He's hoping that maybe by the start of March, start a free agency, which I don't think is earth-shattering to have a decision by then. So
he was at NFL Honors. You know who else was also at the NFL Honors?
Not Favre.
No,
not
Cousins.
Rodgers. Oh yeah.
He sang a duet with Kelly Clarkson.
I didn't watch it.
I just saw it this morning.
No, I didn't watch it.
Watch it either, but I had seen the video of it this morning. And
was he wearing a tucked-in, buttoned-up flannel shirt?
No, he wasn't. I think his wife dressed him pretty.
He's got to ride with that now, though.
Yes, he does. Oh, 100%.
Jared Allen didn't make the Hall of Fame.
No, he didn't. I think he will. I think he's kind of in that. He's in that Kevin Green class.
I think he'll get in sooner, though.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Ware got in. I think Jared Allen's going to be in. Well, Julius Peppers is in next year.
Yeah, because there's like 2 next year that were like Peppers, and there's someone else. That was like a.
Oh, I went through the list.
I remember seeing. Yeah, but there was 2. I think there was 2 guys who were just like, okay, they're first ballots for sure.
Let me bring it up.
But no, I mean, Allen will get in.
It was Intergates. Is that who you're thinking of?
I think so.
Yeah, because otherwise it's like Eric Berry.
No.
Brandon Marshall.
No.
Haloti Ngata maybe, but I don't know about first
ballot. That's always tough when you're trying to quantify the value of like a space eating defensive tackle who's very, very good. But like,
how about Sebastian Janikowski? The leg.
Sebastian Janikowski for a period of time was one of the, if not the best first round pick the Raiders had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can tell you this.
Andrew Luck is also. I don't think he should.
I don't think he should either, just because it wasn't long enough.
Mm-mm.
And like at his peak, he was good. He was really good, but
if he had won a Super Bowl during that stretch, do you think he gets in? Because does part of it factor in like he was like easy? You know, that's a for sure thing. I remember they were talking about him as like the easiest for sure thing since John Elway during that draft process.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you had the Colts moving on for Peyton Manning for the guy. You know, but it was injuries again. But it was, I think it's different than like, I think Sterling Sharp should be in there. But you can make the case, was Sterling Sharp the best at his position in a position depth when he played? You had Jerry Rice, you had Michael Irvin, you had Chris Carter. He was freaking talented.
Mm-hmm.
Was Andrew Luck ever the best?
And I don't know if you can make that case.
I don't think you
as
can.
long as like Brady and Rodgers and some others are around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Peyton.
But you're right. If he wins the Super Bowl, then maybe you can do the Terrell Davis thing where you just had, or the Kurt Warner thing where he had just an intense brief peak where you could say, no, that was the best.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can with Andrew Luck.
You know who, and I was looking up numbers because Schefter put out a list and he included Jordy Nelson on it. Jordy Nelson ain't making it.
No.
I hate to damper Packers fans' hopes and prayers that Jordy Nelson's going to make. He ain't going to make it. I think now this guy's got a better try. It's all going to be dependent on, because everybody's like, well, who's the next Packer besides Aaron to get in? Because Aaron's a lock. Maybe Sterling Sharp in a senior committee. After that, it's like,
I mean, that Julius Peppers doesn't count.
No, only a couple years. He ain't going to get his name in there. There's a really good article, by the way. Cliff Crystal, Packers team historian. He used to be a part of the Hall of Fame process. And there's a deep dive. There is actually like secondary, like the Hall of Fame recognizes secondary and other Go read it, because there's some interesting, like there was players on there. I'm like, where the Hall of Fame actually designates them as not like their main team is, because we talk about baseball's got the cap, right?
Yeah.
And the NFL doesn't do that. But he kind of says, but they're kind of like a little bit, there sort of is. And there was some players, and I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but there's some interesting stuff on there and he mentions like, regardless, whoever's names are in the bowl at Lambeau Field, that's the highest honor for all those, because you got like the Ted Hendricks who played a year for Green Bay or something like that, and he's in the Hall of Fame. But anyways, I was looking at some of these numbers, man. I think Devontae Adams, he's got 87 receiving touchdowns. He scores 13 more, which is highly plausible. Depends on who his quarterback is.
But I mean, yeah.
He's in top 10 all time in receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Everybody in the top 10 in receiving touchdowns is or will be in the Hall of Fame. The only two that are not is Larry Fitzgerald. He's in. He's a first ballot. Antonio Gates, who's now up this coming year. And I think when you look at it, it's like, dang, 87, and he's going to get over 10,000 receiving yards. He's at 9,600 right now.
He's going to hit a bunch of the bullet points.
And he had 14 touchdowns this year. So, I mean, again, I think it's dependent on who his quarterback is, but 13 is definitely.
He's playing for Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. 13 is definitely within the realm this upcoming year to get 100.
Yeah.
And I think that's, as soon as he hits 100, I think he's in the Hall of Fame. And you look at the All-Pros and, like the last few years, they may have to put Devontae's name up at Lambeau Field. Kind of weird how many Raiders connections with Packers and all that. Maybe even now another Aaron one there too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I was actually, I knew Devontae had good numbers, but you look at that now and it's like, whew.
It's tough to ignore.
Yeah. But Joe Thomas got in last night. That's the first offensive lineman of all time. Gets in.
First offensive lineman in NFL history.
In NFL history, gets in. If you don't know that joke, Google it.
Yep.
Was that a Monday night game?
I think it was. Yeah, there was just a typo or something, snafu from ESPN, where they'll have like a name bar for somebody to list like a fact. Oh, he's a 7-time Pro Bowler. For Joe Thomas, it said first offensive lineman in NFL history.
Yeah. Might have been my Thursday night game, though, too. One of those. It was a prime time
It was
sort
some
of game.
sort of prime time game.
Yeah. But Joe Thomas, Darrelle Revis, both getting in, no big surprise, first ballots right there. I'm glad.
We're old.
Yeah. The thing is, though, like I was saying about Joe Thomas. We always have these guys that were the best to never win it. Barry Sanders, Dan Marino. You got to put Joe Thomas on that list, in my opinion. The guy never even played in the playoffs. He could have went to a different team if he wanted to.
Yes.
He could have forced his way out of there. And for the consecutive amount of snaps he played and games he played for
Warrior,
I would put him on that list with Marino and Sanders as one of the best to never win it. And I feel bad for the guy that he didn't even get to play in the season.
Yeah.
I was reading 20 different starting quarterbacks in 11 seasons when he was there. For goodness gracious.
And I'm not sure a single one of them was any good.
No. I feel bad for him.
The best quarterback he had was at Wisconsin. Tyler Donovan.
Gosh. Would it have been Tyler
Maybe
Donovan?
Stocco?
Been 07 when he was drafted.
But he played, several years before that, so maybe John Stocco.
Wow. You remember the first 2 picks in the 07 draft? I did this trivia.
The people the guys who went before.
Thomas was the 3rd overall.
Marcus Russell.
Yep.
Calvin Johnson.
Bingo. Adrian Peterson was the 7th overall pick.
Yes, he was.
It was a good draft because Darrelle Revis was in that draft
Yeah,
too.
no, that was a good one. You have good ones, you have not good ones. That was a good one.
Well, except for the Raiders' first overall pick.
Yeah. It happens.
Kind of feel bad for Calvin Johnson because he got stuck with the Lions. If he'd have been first, he'd have been stuck with the Raiders and still done nothing.
Yeah, both those guys.
And then Joe Thomas with the Browns got holy moly. All right, B. We only got a couple minutes, so we got to catch up on some stuff here. Carpet City Local Sports Spotlight Award this week. Shout out. Who are we going with?
We talked about him earlier. We're going to go Dominic Schwarzenberger from Bloomer.
That's a good pick. Yeah, when you drop 51.
Yes.
That's a good pick there. So, you ready for the All right, cream of the crop. Who are you going with this week for your cream of the crop?
Well, it's Super Bowl. It's not yet, but obviously we're going to be getting to Super Bowl Sunday, so I'm just going for America.
Okay.
Because we're just going to eat a bunch of food, drink a lot of Man Cave Lights.
Team America.
We're just going with America. We're going to do what we do best, which is kind of eat a bunch of food and just kind of sit around and watch something.
Oh, you copped out on that.
I did.
But I've done it's hard. Can't pick the Bucks every time on this whole thing. I'm gonna go Badgers stink with this whole thing. You know what? I'm gonna give a little shout out again to Joe Thomas, cream of the crop.
Yeah,
getting in the Hall of Fame. Even though he had a great personal career, his team sucked. He didn't get to the postseason. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best part of his career so far, too. So
yeah,
and he looks like he could still play.
Well, he like a lot of linemen. That's what happens with a lot of linemen because look, human beings aren't meant to be that big, like that large and in shape and athletic.
Yep.
Like it takes a certain level of not just commitment, physically, but also with your nutrition.
Yep, that's why I've been drinking all this big old water this whole week, man. Trying to be a little bit
trying
more
to bulk
healthy.
up.
No, trying to so I don't like splurge on junk food all the time. Trying to fill up with water.
I like that it has the times on there to say how much you should. I
know, right?
That's clever.
Yeah, I thought it was going to help me. When the last one on here is 9, I'm done by 11:30 in the morning. I don't know if it's because I'm up at like 3, so I start early.
Yeah, you need to get one that's more conducive to your early morning lifestyle.
I want to do some sort of like, do we get our own mugs or canned koozies or something? We got to do something like that. I don't know what, and I don't know where, but we got to get like some sort of is it Chotsky sort of thing?
It was like 10 or 15 years ago. You could have had your own Dan Kasper Show beer bong.
Why? Well, never mind. We don't have enough time for that. We don't need to get to that. So, but no, I was thinking about that last night. We got to do something. I don't know what though. I don't know where. I don't know anybody that does that stuff.
If only there was a way you could possibly reach people that might be able to do that kind of stuff. But sadly, that technology does not exist.
Not anymore. Don't roll your eyes. Brad and I are going to record a podcast right after this. Our top 5 favorite Super Bowls, and I am not picking Packers to make it fair for Brandon.
And I have not been alive for a Viking Super Bowl, so that makes it easy for me.
Yes. So we are going to do that as soon as, less than a minute, we're going to start recording here. So I wonder if we're going to have a lot of the same ones. Since
I have a feeling my number one, I have a feeling you're going to have ranked tie 2.
I think we're going to have quite the same here.
I think we might.
Yep. Well, enjoy the games this weekend. Game this weekend, Super Bowl. We'll be back Monday to talk about it. Talk to you then.